The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Talladega Superspeedway, where tonight LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series Season 14 Championship rolls on into the fourth week of the regular season of action tonight, live from Lincoln, Alabama. We're happy to have you topside with us, as always, on LSRTV at iRacing Live. Myself, Evan Pasoko, going to be joined alongside by Rachel Whiteford in the booth tonight, as always, as well downstairs, the lovely and talented Cisco Scaramuza, pushing the buttons and bringing us to you here this evening. Rachel, we get set for yet another race, and we come off of a week from Daytona back to where we were a couple of weeks ago from Talladega. This racetrack is, as we mention all the time, just that little bit bigger than when we head off to the World Center of Racing, so it's only going to take 94 laps to get to our standard 250-mile distance tonight, but just kind of starting to comfortably settle into the bulk of the season here as we enter tonight.
Yeah, we certainly are having, of course, round number 4 tonight. Round number 3 at Daytona last week. A very different story. Just to quickly summarize what happened, we had a loose race car. If you were behind other cars in traffic, if you were on the high side, after about 8 laps each time, we had cars getting seriously loose. We had probably one of the biggest incidents I have seen in my history as a sim racing commentator, Evan. We had a whole field wreck going into turn 1 on one of the restarts. I think must have 30 cars involved in it. It was absolutely huge. Major big deal, especially for some points implications for some of these guys running here, of course, this week. So it is something we'll have to consider. I think you have those points, Evan.
Yeah, we take a look at the top 12 of the championship into tonight. Mr. Rodney Wofford sits on top of the board. He's really the only driver now through 3 races that has 2 top 5 finishes, and he's at the top of the board. Garrett Atwell's right there, second to 5 points off. Andrew Berger, Brandon Chiburko, Ray Rittenauer inside of the top 5 now. And again, the chase grid going to be at least 12 drivers, but they're going to go by wins and then points. So you're not out of this thing if you're having a tough go at it so far. The highest driver in the points right now with the win is Brandon Chiburko. Again, that win locks you in to that championship. And after tonight, I talk about kind of settling into this regular season. Rachel, out of tonight, still 10 races to go until the chase cutoff, so I don't think it's time to start sweating just quite yet.
Certainly not. Plenty of time left to make things play. We'll have to see how it goes, but as we mentioned, tonight's setup's also pretty loose, so it's going to be particularly interesting. And these guys do have to think about their point standings as we go forwards. It's not over yet, but there's still plenty of time for new runners to get wins. And we had a first-time winner last time. First time he's won in it's only his second win ever in the series. Hopefully maybe another new winner tonight, and we'll get some more people heading into that chase, rather than repeat winners. Or will we see a familiar name back?
Yeah, well, and you can compare that to, the other guys who have won so far this season. Brandon Chiburko, who got his 17th career win. Mark Jorgensen Jr., who the week prior to that got his 10th career win. There's a lot of guys who kind of find themselves in the middle of that, but it's always fun when you see somebody maybe not necessarily get their first win, although there are a couple of drivers who I think tonight always, as I think it is week in and week out, have a chance to get their first trip to Superspeedway Cup Series victory lane, but I think that it is always fun to kind of see how that plays things out. Again, we're going to be going back and forth between Daytona and Talladega all season long. Next week's race is going to be interesting because it is going to be one of only 2 trips on the regular season and 3 trips in the entire 20-race calendar. That when we go back to Daytona, it'll be the Daytona Circa 07 circuit. That, though, we'll have plenty of time to discuss next Friday night. The focus tonight is on Talladega. Again, there are going to be 3 drop weeks in this regular season, which stems all the way from race 1 through race 14. Tonight is race number 4. However, the Superspeedway 500 counts in on those numbers. But 3 drop weeks, not something that these guys really necessarily want to bank on, but I think that really directly to the point that you made, Rachel, about the race 1 week ago with that big accident, we continue to kind of say, or maybe recommend even, take it easy early, get your way through the race, think methodically, break the sucker up into segments, and get yourself through the race. If there was any scenario where they take things maybe just a little bit easier, it might be tonight to try to avoid what happened 7 days ago. However, nothing's guaranteed with these guys. They might go right at it off of the drop of the green flag. We'll just have to wait and find out.
Certainly will, of course. We have some big team groups who will definitely work together in this one. And looking at qualifying so far, familiar names at the front, but there's certainly some names. Of course, Daniel Osborne, one of our winners this season, back in 29th place. No qualifying result from him. As like I said, we do know people like Brandon Chaburko, 25th, not qualified, will always find his way to the front. And as we know, Chaburko is, shall we say, the wild card or the joker in this series. Most decidedly the joker. We never know what he's going to do next, where he's going to go, and I don't think we've found a Batman to compliment him yet.
I think that wild also could be used to describe him, and you can put whatever word you want after that as well. The 5-minute qualifying session has drawn to a close, and cars are on track for the 4th race on this Season 14 championship. So with that, we go trackside and take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid. The Drive for Autism Pole Award tonight belongs to Frank Basilia III with a 52.97. The 94 will roll off from pole, much better than 31st, at which he was earlier on in the night in the practice session. Rod flying it to join him on the front row. A great qualifying effort tonight for the driver of the number 10. Best driver in practice, Mark Jorgensen Jr. Already been to victory lane, already locked himself into the chase via that win. Earlier on this year was the best driver in practice. He'll roll from 3rd tonight. Derek Walker going to accompany him back on row number 2, starting 4th, and just behind them, number 7, Rodney Wofford, championship leader into tonight, starts 5th.
Starting in 6th place tonight will be Josh Hanna, and on the row behind them, of course, Paul Servant and Corey Henry. Jay Riot and Ray Rittenhouse 2nd, making up row 5.
3rd and 11th tonight going to be Matt Quick. Scott Warren with him will roll from 12th. The unlucky number 13 starting position goes to Garrett Atwell tonight. Not the first time he started 13th, I think, in the last couple of weeks. So he seems to be finding himself mid-pack quite a lot. Alongside him in 14th position going to be Scott Saunders. Josh Vickery comes up a little bit shy of his qualifying goal. He'll have to start in 15th.
16th tonight is Chris Bassini with Glenn Hedrick alongside. Behind them, Shane McEachin and Andrew Berger. 20th place, Kelly Dahl.
Final times in qualifying, 21st through 24th, go to Dan Harrington, Dwayne Cooper, Roger Stewart, and Dominic Dyball. First provisional to that number 22 of Brandon Chaburko, who starts in 25th.
Yes, it does. Brandon Chaburko, first of our non-qualifiers tonight. Behind him, Daniel Osborne, Gary Champion, Joel Wood, Brandon Cruz, Simon Zarvis, Andy Kessler, Daniel Holloway, and Larry Camp bringing up the rear.
Look top to bottom at your LSRTV starting grid. Let's talk about this Talladega Superspeedway, the 2.66-mile track that's banked nearly 4 stories of 33 degrees of banking. Tri-oval basically a corner of it of itself, coming in at 16.5. And again, really the big thing to note outside of that is the track is a little bit bigger than Daytona, 6 laps less to get to 250 miles, and it does take when we are down in Daytona Beach. Also, track is a little bit wider, there's a little bit more space, and of course that start-finish side, Rachel, not dead center in the Tri-oval. We've seen many a time these races have a different winner compared to who was leading at that point and who ended up taking a checkered flag about 5 seconds down the road because of that difference.
Absolutely, and hopefully that's something we'll see be a factor in tonight's one, so plenty of time for things to be very, very exciting.
Again, the season is still very much young, just the 4th race of 14 on the regular season, but any race is as important as its counterpart because you park it in victory lane tonight and you are going to be racing for a championship come that chase, which gets kicked off well down the line as you go into the round of 12. That one going to be at Talladega, first race of the championship, but we're going to have to wait quite some time to get to that point. It's not going to be coming until about the middle of May. So it is a long road to hoe, but for anybody, their road to a championship could be locked up here tonight. The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down and away as always, we're happy to have you with us on LSRTV at iRacing Live. Field in a hand at 94 of Frank Basili on the inside of the racetrack. They'll come under the flag stand, collect the Baron Cadet that all green flag, and we are underway from Talladega.
Great start by the first few rows in this one. First 3 cars on the inside lane, first 4 on the outside. All very much hooked up. Some cars splitting team. It's 3 DHI cars there, of course, up towards the front. The 20, the 7, and the 12. Familiar names up at the front of these races, like some Rodney Wofford, 12 Corey Henry, and the 20 of Derek Walker. So these guys always want to watch, Evan.
Might be a little bit of a teaser of what we're going to see tonight, depending on how long those guys last on the outside of the racetrack. If it is not an aggressive bunch, they'll probably decide to get down on that yellow line and just kind of ride on the inside. 3 wide back at about 15th position. Not really a battle for position, just a car on that top side drop it back a little bit. They're able to double file things out as they come off of quarter number 4 and the first 2.66 miles of tonight's 250-mile event from Talladega in the back pocket. And your pole sitter, Frank Basilia, picks up that bonus point. Starting to get that little bit of a single file line towards the front of the field. The 94, the 88, the 20. All single file inside of the top 3 as the other drivers inside of the top 10 appear to start to follow suit. Corey Henry, first driver on the outside of the racetrack right now, side by side for 7.
He certainly is. That's the number 12 car. We just mentioned him behind him. That's the 87 Raven now the second. Doing a great job here. Has had some real pace so far this season, but outside line ever not looking like it can really get hooked up here, get together. This is something we've seen all season so far. It takes them a couple of laps to really get this one going. We'll see on subsequent restarts, of course. The outside line, no particular problem for them. But it's always this first start. The outside never really gets going. Being patient this time, it seems, from drop a green flag.
All 31 drivers on the grid tonight were able to take the green flag with the exception of Dana Osborne. Osborne did not put it down in qualifying, so there are 31 drivers out onto the racetrack, and at least at the moment, for all intended purposes, in that lead pack. Again, it is very much strung out, side by side, back by that 87 Ray Rittenauer. Looks like Paul Servant in that number 3 Chevrolet, who had a really good string of fantastic qualifying efforts towards the end of last season. Kind of found himself stuck in the pack, but he knows how to get his way up through the field. He'll go to the outside of the racetrack off of the bumper of Jason Altmans, who pushes him up high, and we'll see if they file in line behind these other guys who just jumped topside, as it looks like that 12 of Corey Henry giving it some consideration. All these guys you see, including with that 88 of Jorgensen, they're sticking their nose out, have to just kind of get that engine some clean air and cool it down, but also just kind of making that guy in front of you keep him guessing.
Certainly, of course. We've seen a couple of blown motors so far this season, Evan, so this is something these guys will have to watch out for, of course. They need to make sure they keep these cars cool. They are very sensitive this season, of course. The airflow into the cars has changed, and you can see that in the way they're having to drive. They're having to come out, as you mentioned, breathe those motors. We see further back at the back, the 3 on the outside, Paul Servant, really playing on his own there. No one really going to help him. Bit of action happening towards the front, though, as we look forward towards where Chris Bassini's running. I believe that is possibly Jason Altmans leading that group with him. Behind him, the 89 car as well. We've got the car of Matt Quick. Out pops the 2. That was actually the 51 car. Yep, Jason Altmans moving up to the high side. 3 wide here in 2. Bit early for this, boys. Lap number 5.
Yeah, the 51, I mean, I'm sure he's not happy that the 2 came up and cut him off, if you want to use those words, and it is going to give Josh Hannon the lead role in that outside line, but I can never understand when they don't just kind of, suck it up. It's 5 laps into the race. You're not going to lose the race, I think, because he pulled him in front of you, Rachel, but just what happened there with that 5th of Altmans is, instead of just deciding to get back in line, is now you see the 4, the 2's going to get turned, though. Henner off of corner number 4. He'll spin down to the apron, come to a stop. He's off the racetrack, so we will stay green.
He certainly is, and a big save there by Josh Hanna, as he almost as big a save as the NIS, Evan.
They're able to hang on to it, got some left ear damage on that one. He's way off of the lead pack, but nonetheless, we're able to stay clean and green up front. The point that I was going to make before all that broke out at the quarter number 4 as they go 3-1 again this time off of the quarter with that 51 as Rachel. Normally, when we saw the move that Altmans did, it happens, it kind of ends just like that. You don't get in line behind the guy, you figure, okay, I have momentum, I'll go up to a 3rd lane. The guys behind you, they'll almost never follow you up to that 3rd lane. You drop back, and you're seeing it again right now. Altmans didn't want to get on the back bumper of Chris Bassini, went to that 3rd lane, and it just never works. And yet we always see these guys try it.
Yeah, absolutely, and they do try and go up there, but sometimes it can work, sometimes it doesn't. This is certainly too early for that to happen, and Josh Hanna, he's paid that price. I feel like Washington soon to be back involved with these guys, but that car pretty much intact, a couple of little bent fenders, but they can get that thing repaired, no problem whatsoever. And look who's coming already, that 22 car back in the back there, that blue and white quick lane Ford Fusion. It is moving very rapidly, and it's only heading forwards.
I'm almost convinced that Brandon Chiburko just doesn't qualify because it'd be boring to start up front and finish up front, because it only takes him barely 10-15 laps and he's right into the conversation. Big run for the guys on the outside of the racetrack. Can Derek Walker get the job done for the race lead, this time off of quarter number 4? And it is a huge head of steam for the driver who was third in line last time by. Not only will he get the race lead and get clear, but he'll bring Rodney Wofford with him. All kinds of momentum for the guys topside, and as Walker steps down to the bottom, looks like Wofford will stay topside, and the 7 should get a big run out of 2, get the lead for himself.
Certainly is. Big move there by Rodney Wofford in that number 7 machine, as we've got a DHI push on the outside there. Of course, we're joined by the 4 car of Garrett Atwell there. He wasn't involved, but his 2 teammates now, the 7 and the 1. That is Wofford and that is Persini, and they are pushing hard here.
I thought the 7 would have had it, and again, that 4 machine of Garrett Atwell kind of snuck into all of this, and I think kind of snookered him by going down at the bottom, but they had a big run coming off for quarter number 2, down the Alabama gang back straightaway, and Atwell knew that the 7 was going to go down and just kind of beat him to the punch, and now you have that 7 stuck topside, but again, despite the fact that he is quote-unquote starting his run for the race lead by starting side by side, I don't think that the 7's going to be able to get it going here. I think he's going to go back with that one to Chris Bassini. Again, the best place to make a move is from side by side for 5th, not side by side for 1st. Sometimes you need that big head of steam and kind of use that momentum to get the job done, and I think that 7 Rodney Wofford might be stuck until maybe that 20 jumps back up topside again. If you're the 4 and that 20 jumps out from behind you, there's nothing you can do. If he does that, they got a good shot at taking over the race lead. You saw Walker thinking about it that time. He will commit over making that move off of quarter number 4. Maybe not the best idea. I don't think they'll get it by the time they get to 1.
Not looking likely. The run is just not big enough. They're just holding it on the outside as you see them here in 1. Not making it work, but that's 3 cars hooked up on the outside. 3 teammates there, Evan. And they'll certainly make this one work if they can, of course. But as it stands, 3 of them aren't making a headway. They're not really hooked up. The inside eye moving too much for them to get down there and really use that side suck, that side draft. As up comes the 88 of Jorgensen Jr. Always a talking point in these races. He's heading forwards. Of course, he was out early last week. He didn't get points. He needs good points this week.
I think if they made that move off of corner 4, it would have worked out well for them, but or maybe off of corner number 2. Off the corner, they really didn't have enough momentum, and again, you kind of get stuck in this stalemate side by side. As long as that 51 is doing his job, you're not just going to get around that 4. You need a big head of steam, and so far the guys on the inside running quite comfortably. Again, Brandon Chiburko doing what he does every single week. He started 25th, and after 10 laps, he's very comfortably 4th in line on the inside of the racetrack in 7th position, and now just kind of able to hang out. Again, 11 laps complete of the 94 on the night. Still a long way to go, and the 4 are going to get turned. Garrett Atwell at a quarter number 2 is into the inside fence, your race leader. He'll bounce back up on track,
big
and
hit, 76 car. Evan, 76, and another car is involved as well. 79 car, also 00 involved with Dwayne Cooper. And as he comes back down the track, he avoids everyone else, but that's a big one. 79 and 00 brought in with Garrett Atwell's incident. Replay on your screen.
They're headed down the straightaway, and the 51 got into the bumper at the same time. He got hit from behind by the 94, and it hooked Garrett Atwell around. He got into the inside fence and bounced it off of the outside fence and didn't get on the brakes in time. Stayed on the gas off after he got off of the wall, maybe to try to just bounce and keep going, and it looped the back end of that car back around. He spun right up above that yellow line, and it was a tough break for the guys who were coming through there. Absolutely nowhere to go for Joel Wood. He absolutely got destroyed in that contact, and what looked like an incident that could have very easily been limited to 1 car, instead tears up about 3 or 4 down the back straightaway.
Certainly does, and this is the first big incident for us. Of course, this will really help up the likes of Dana Osborne's had some technical issues. They're returning to the track right now, but this will help out the likes of course, we had the issue for Josh Hanna. He will be back with this pack now. That will be a big help to him.
So pit road going to be open on lap number 12, and well, we're not necessarily in dire need of coming and getting some fuel. Drivers are going to be pit side, obviously expecting them to top off those cars and get some tires as well. Question is going to be, does anybody really decide that they need 4 tires this early in a run? And again, just what's a little bit past 1/10 of the way through this one. Race leader Eric Walker's got to go down to pit stall number 4. He's able to get into the box cleanly. Looks like as the drivers around him does left side tires, going to go up on the 20. He'll be off and away. The 7 also going to go with 2 left side tires as they come off of pit road. A couple of guys going with 4 tires. Jorgensen going to give up some track position as well. Will Rod Flag, they decided 4 was the call. Looks like most everybody else though wanted to go just 2.
Certainly did, and wow, 2 tyres was a good call. Left side tyres, it seems, Evan, at this stage. Not been on big runs, so they don't really use too much at this stage. That's a pretty good call. Keep track position, but also get some fresh rubber. Keep that grip in the corner. Keep that car turning.
They're going to get back out on track. They'll double things back out, and they will get set for first restart on the night. That first one off of the drop of the initial green flag wasn't all of that intensive. The guys on the inside of the racetrack and such were able to kind of get single filed out quickly and got that taken care of. But with that being said, I think that we won't see much of a difference on this one. Obviously, the intensity is going to continue to get ramped up and ramped up and ramped up as the night goes on. But I still don't see a sense of urgency. It is interesting, Rachel, because I don't really think anybody was driving over their head in that first stint, but that was 2 separate incidents. First one we got away with. It didn't lead to a caution flag. The second one, unfortunately, did after that car bounced back up. But that's 2 guys that have been hooked from inside of the top 5, and it seems like the bump here very sensitive.
Oh, absolutely. Bump's very, very sensitive, and that's something I've got to keep their eyes on, of course. They got to make sure these cars stay on the track. But once you've had one, yeah, people get a little bit nervous once one car has been lost, and of course no caution for that, but it does tend to shake the field up a little bit, and that's what happened here. Of course, the field was a little bit broken, and it led, of course, to that second little moment, but they managed to get it done, and not too many cars involved, and everyone should be back out running from the whole field.
We'll take a look to see if we do go back green this time. By lights on top of the iRacing.com Ford Mustang pace car going to stay on, so at least one more time around before we're going to get things back under green flag conditions. Again, for those just tuning in, this is the 4th race on the season. A 14-race regular season going to make up the qualifications for the chase for the championship, and a win locks you in. So far, 3 races, 3 different drivers that know that they will be competing for a Superspeedway Cup Series championship beginning down the line in May. Mark Jorgensen Jr. won earlier on this season, his 10th career win from the Daytona International Speedway. Brandon Chaburko won the last time we were here at Talladega, career win number 17, and Dana Osborne, well-deserved career win number 2. That one came just 1 week ago at Daytona. You can find more information about the Superspeedway Cup Series online on their website. You can go to superspeedwaycup.com, and you could also find information on there, including the outline for the rest of the schedule for the Season 14 Championship. So drivers that involved in that one that aren't going to be able to continue going on, Joel Wood and Garrett Atwell, they were that big contact on the inside of the racetrack. They're both 2 laps down in 30th and 31st. Separate from that, Dana Osborne, who's had his own issues tonight, is 32nd and 12 laps down, but still on the racetrack. So far, so good, in that no cars behind the wall yet.
Yeah, certainly, and of course, no cars behind that wall permanently, but there's a couple of cars who could be next time this happens, so some patience from some drivers. Some, well, they've got a little bit more to throw at this one, so be careful, because we've got drivers racing for everything, and some for nothing.
Did want to take this opportunity to give a thanks to Joel Real Timing. Coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. You can get your own copy today by going online at www.joel-real-timing.com. And that will give you a wide variety of options, including standing in real time, as well as a delta graphic. There's a track calculator and a track map as well, so all kinds of great features. Again, you can get that online at joel-real-timing.com, the official timing software of LSRTV. The lights are off on top of the pace car, so we are going to get a restart with 15 laps complete tonight. Again, the night still very much young. Front row going to be Derek Walker and Rodney Watford, Jason Altman's Matt Quick, Frank Basilia inside of the top 10, and out of a couple of guys who stayed down pit road a little bit longer to get 4 tires. Rod Flag was one of them. He started second place tonight. He falls back to 10. So we will keep kind of a half eye on those guys, Rachel, as we watch the battle up front to see if there's any sort of advantage on those guys who decided to go with 4 instead of 2.
Yeah, that's something we'll need to see. I don't expect there to be much difference, Evan, at this stage. 2 tires should be enough, plus the track position always advantageous. So 2 tires should be good enough, because we was, let's not forget, only 10 laps in at this stage, and no one can make it on one stop to the end from here, so still, everyone going to have to come in at least twice more.
Long way to go so far. Restart going to be with 29 drivers on the lead lap to this point. Of those up front, there are still 7 of the drivers, actually 8 if you include Ray right now, who actually started 10th. 8 of the drivers who started inside of the top 10 still running inside of the top 10 at the moment. I kind of like using that as a little bit of a way to gauge just how much has been going on so far to the night. But there's a couple of guys who have had great success so far. Brandon Cruz Montevice, one of them, biggest mover so far to this point, who started in 29th and runs in 9th at the moment. The iRacing.com Ford Mustang GT pace car ducks off and away. We will see what Derek Walker does on the inside of the racetrack. Green flag flies and back underway.
Good restart here on the track as the front 2 rows get going. As I mentioned, of course, after first start, the outside line did suffer. But look at this, the outside line on this second restart, much better on that start. They're all moving forwards. These guys all on 2 tires as the 88-year-old Jorgensen Jr. will drop down into a place that was only just big enough for him as cars get a little bit shaky. But the outside line definitely has worked a little bit better until Jorgensen Jr. kind of dropped him there, Evan. And that's broken off to only have 3 cars at the front there, and that's kind of cost them.
94, kind of the driver out of things at the moment. They were 3 on the inside, 3 on the outside. He was kind of all by himself. Now you see the guys on the inside get going. And again, the outside, better place to be for momentum because you're using that 4 degrees of banking to your advantage. And Derek Walker in that 20 thought about maybe going up protected the outside. He gets back down at the bottom. There's just no way around it that you can make the best out of what you're given if you have to start on the outside. But I think that there's nobody that's going to disagree with you that if there's any place to be on the restart, it's the bottom. Shortest way around the racetrack, you're getting these cars up to speed. The draft isn't a huge factor. In the first lap, maybe lap and a half to 2 laps off of the green flag, bottom is just the place to be. But now we'll start to see those guys on the outside get up to speed. How about 206 miles an hour? That time off to quarter number 3 for race leader Derek Walker. So he's got these guys up to speed nice and quickly. We'll see who wants to form up that top lane first. Rodney Watford doesn't want to volunteer. He'll go down to the inside.
He certainly will. Rodney Watford will pull down there, and we'll see what he does. Of course, he had the lead, but the 51 will go past him. Jason Altman's getting through, as does the 94 car of Frank Basilia III. 88 of Martin Jorgensen Jr. also going to go, but will he get clear? I don't think he will in time. So the 94 and the 51 may drop him. The 94 is trying to stay up as long as he can to try and pull Jorgensen, but he has to pull down and defend that line against the car of Derek Walker. Jorgensen Jr. really left on the outside on his own, but we know he can hang on. One of those few drivers, Evan, that can use that side draft so well. He can almost keep up here with the guys at the front.
Yeah, you can do something up there on the outside of the racetrack. I don't think that you realistically can get to the lead, but you can stay there. It's not necessarily that you're down the creek without a paddle. I think that side draft really is the only weapon that you have. And especially for, I think, basically all the guys in this series who are very familiar with the plate track race, and I think that you're able to kind of hang on there, but I don't think you're going to go to the race lead. And these guys are really getting after it. I'll tell you what, they only dropped up to 190.7, and that time
turned by the 89 car of Matt Quick. That was absolutely insane. Oh, huge incidents there. 89 we just mentioned, of course. Jorgensen Jr. got turned by him, and this has collected most of our field, Evan. We had some technical issues. We apologize for those, but a significant crash. This is Talladega Classic, the big one, lap 19.
Yeah, the 89 just didn't want to lift, and he got into the back of the 88, and again, we said under that first caution that these cars have been very sensitive tonight, and Jorgensen just got hooked around, and again, that was right at the front of the field, and basically everybody off in quarter number 3, one of the bigger wrecks we've seen in this series. Not sure if quite up to par with what we got 1 week ago, but that one was definitely the big one, and it comes at just lap number 19. And again, I mean, definitely avoidable contact, but Rachel, up to that point, it wasn't like everybody was getting nuts, but third time tonight that something like that just breaks out of nowhere, and we were extremely unfortunate this time to have the contact start up front, and you can see the result.
Certainly is, and what a dramatic turn of events we've just seen there. Absolutely huge, of course, Evan. Well, this is going to change the race for a lot of guys, because now they've lost that chance they have for that fast repair. They are in a situation here where they have to be very, very careful.
So the drivers who remain in one piece are going to come down to the pit lane. In fact, everybody will be down pit side. Those who got beaten up are going to have to come down and use up that one quick fix if it's still available. If you weren't one of the couple of guys who were involved in those earlier incidents, get back out on track. Jason Oatman's first driver in race off for the pit lane. He's not going to win it. Beating him off of pit road is Rod Flag, and so does Frank Basilia, the 94. 2 right side tires only, and he will win that race off of the pit lane. We'll take this opportunity to step aside. We'll come back to Talladega when they get some of these cars duct taped back together and we get set for a restart. Frank Basilia at the moment, your race leader with 21 laps complete. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series on iRacing Live. Back to Dega for the restart when we come back. Welcome back live to the Talladega Superspeedway, taking a lot of looks at that one. It was quite the show off in quarter number 3. A lot of guys getting torn up. You're not really going to see the big numbers fall off of the lead lap as you would expect as we come back live, simply because for the guys who were able to limp back to pit road, it wasn't that far. between the center of 3 and 4 and the pit lane, which, Rachel, if there's any good news, it could be that. They were able to limp their way back to the pit lane, get the quick fix, and get right back out on track. For those who weren't able to get back, they had to take that tow, had to wait a couple of minutes, and they'll fall laps down 25th through 29th right now, all one lap down. Andrew Berger, Chris Bassini, Scott Warren, Glenn Hedrick, and Corey Henry. But it's still looking like we'll be on par with about 24 cars on the lead lap for the restart, which, I mean, you take another look at the accident, and that's still a pretty impressive number, all things considered.
Yeah, it certainly is, and wow, surprising to have so many cars still running after that incident. But, well, you saw how that really started, of course, Evan, and that was surprisingly innocuous, of course. The cars getting surprisingly loose there in 3 on that transition to the banking, and that's what got him hooked by Matt Quick. As we're going to keep watching out for that. The cars are going to be very sensitive, and I think drivers will notice that now, and it'll be something that will definitely make them a little bit more nervous about pushing. So getting that track position now could be more important than ever.
Couple of guys I see damaged that have not used that quick fix. Josh Hanner, one of them, behind the wheel of the number 2 machine. Has got a couple of guys snaking their way through the field, trying to get back to the lead lap, and a couple of guys trying to get into the correct position for the restart. Again, you don't necessarily have to take that quick fix. With the damage that I see on his car, and I think that for the size of that accident, for the damage that most guys had, it is the best option. But some guys will not use that one and only quick repair, and what they'll do is they'll come down to the pit lane, sit down there for whatever X amount of time iRacing designates to get the car as fixed as they can, and they'll do that so that if they get in another accident, they can use that quick fix later on in the race. They'll get to 30 to go, hope that there's yellow around that point, then use that quick fix, and then have a brand new car and get going. Because the last thing they want to happen is to get into an accident 20 laps into the race, get that car fixed, and then get into an accident 25 laps into the race, and you're done for the rest of the night. So keep an eye on Josh Hanner to see if maybe that strategy can help him out, and he'll start back at about 11th or 12th position. Meanwhile, up front, though, Frank Basilia, our pole sitter, decided to go with 2 right side tires and gas under the caution. It puts him back to the race lead. American Ethanol, green flag in the air. We're back underway.
Green flag certainly flying there, Evan, as we head into turn number 1, and things very shaken up back in your pack. There's cars all over the racetrack here. Some very fast cars towards the rear. Jorgensen Jr. and Brandon Traburco right back there alongside Matt Quick. So some very fast cars shaken to the back. The 7 car right at the back here, Rodney Wofford. So we'll have to keep an eye on where he goes. Chris Basilius also up there as well, the 12 car. So we've got big fast cars here moving forwards very rapidly, Evan. This could really cause us a second problem.
You saw the 98th there, Andy Kessler, up at a race high P4. He started 30th on the grid, so he's another one of those guys that we can kind of give kudos to, and a tip of the hat for how well he's been doing. 3 wide a little bit further back in the pack as well. The 12 drop it back, and again, not really a battle for position. Sure, well, the 3 wide, Corey Henry's a lap down, and he's just kind of falling back out of the way, as opposed to a 3 wide challenge for position. And the 50 winner, Jason Oakman's did a pretty good job off of this restart to stay topside behind the wheel of that number 50 watt machine. Riding in second at the moment. He's got help behind it with Kessler and that 24 machine coming up the back end as well. Interesting to see what Andrew Berger can do, Rachel. He's a lap down in 25th. And in fact, he's the first driver 1 lap down, but he's very much a part of this battle for the race lead.
Yeah, he certainly is, of course. It can help him, and it can help teammates and friends as well. So he wants to make sure he can get himself in front of the lead. That'd be great for him, of course. He gets waved around for free on the next caution, as we have a challenge for the lead here, as he nearly went 3 wide there through the tri-oval. They do a bit further back, as Jorgensen Jr. from a push from Brandon Traburco will start line number 3 here, the 28 car coming with them. That is Shane McEachin, who's just pulled away. Now he's dropped back down, and 2 rounding outside. 2 of the biggest names in this series, Mark Jorgensen Jr. and Brandon Traburco. 3 lanes working here, and these 2 cars making it go on the outside on their own, Evan.
Might as well. Brandon Traburco has never been somebody to shy away from the 3rd lane, and he's got that 88 of Jorgensen up there with him. Again, the 88 just got hooked. He was in an accident not all that long ago. Jorgensen right back into things, but it's going to get tight off of quarter number 2, because not only is it going to be tough for those guys in that 3rd lane to do anything, they can, again, stay there, but I think it'll be incredibly difficult for them to pass the guys in the middle. The guys in the middle get slowed down by having those guys on their outside as well, so then you kind of lag both lanes down, and it kind of helps the inside. We'll see how this plays out.
We certainly will, of course, and, well, they're filtering back to 2 lanes here. They don't want to be pushing too hard, but, challenge for the lead on the middle lane, of course. It's 3 wide for the race lead, Evan.
3 wide they go, and now that 10 out there with no help. Rod Flag can afford to drop back to the 00. Just now going to the outside is Dwayne Cooper, but that is not good news for Rod Flag. You see the 00 out there on the outside of the racetrack checked it up. He didn't want to get into the bumper, especially how many bumper hooks we've seen tonight, and just like that outside lane just kind of fell apart. It worked out for the guys who started it, though. Jorgensen Chiburko, despite the issues for a couple of guys up there, they were able to get down into the middle lane, what is now the outside lane, and they ran in 4th and 6th position last time around. They're right there, and now that 94 Basilio really pinching off of corner number 2, trying to challenge for the race lead.
Yeah, he certainly is, and he's going to do everything he can to try and reinforce this one at the moment, but as it goes, the 94 car looking strong. Basilio the third there with the push from Jorgensen Jr. behind him. Chiburko, of course, the 51 of Altman's with the 97 of Vickery. And the 13 car behind them, Dominic Dieball. 20 car behind them of Derek Walker. Strong inside line, but this top side very, very strong. 98 coming as well. Andy Kessler. He's doing a fantastic job tonight, Evan.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who have had a good night, and you can measure that by different aspects. If you're Frank Basilio, you started first to run second, it's a good night because you haven't gone anywhere else. But there's a lot of guys who have picked up 23, 24 spots. Somebody like Dominic Dieball, who started 24th and runs in 5th, or somebody like Brandon Chiburko, who started 25th and runs in 6th. Andy Kessler, as we noted, started 30th and runs in 8th. Brandon Savai started 29th. And runs in 10th. So there are plenty of big movers, and there's no help off of the corner for Jason Ullman's. Not sure what happened to the 97. He dropped back, and how about Brandon Chiburko? Leaves the guys on the outside, and he will keep that 51 alive. If that 22 stayed up there, I think those 3 guys might have been able to get around him.
I think you're right, Evan. It certainly could have done, but he's dropped down to push Altman's here, leaving Basilio the third and Jorgensen Jr. on the outside. 2 pairs here breaking away as they pull clear, actually, of the pack behind them. 2 wide, 2 deep for the race lead as they'll drop back on the outside, and looks like Altman's with that push from Chiburko has been this missing ingredient.
Interesting how, as these top 4 almost broke away a little bit, they're not going to be able to escape the rest of the lead pack. The drivers 5th through 15th. Just about a half a second off of the bumper. They'll be back on the bumper in just a moment, but it was kind of interesting to see them get that little bit of a gap, kind of a little bit of an homage to the old school 2x2 tandem racing, but that pack is going to catch up. But again, 15 drivers going to be a part of the lead pack. The next driver, 16th in line, Kelly Dahl, 4 seconds back. So really, for the first time tonight, we're seeing a clear separation of the lead pack from the rest of the field on that first stint before it was cut short by that big carnage that we saw in the back straightaway after 2 guys got together, and obviously one driver bounced back up here at Atwell, got back up into traffic. It was really one pack at that moment. We do see now a 15-car lead pack and a lot of guys straggling behind. Some of them, to be fair, do have that damage that we were talking about and may just be really not wanting to be a part of this, kind of fearing that that big accident could strike again.
Absolutely, of course. This series, Evan, they do run a fast repair option, so these guys all have one, shall we say, one mistake they can make, or 1 second chance in this race. But once you've used that, this time, your car is out if you pick up damage. Of course, something for the viewers, of course, minor damage to these cars on the Superspeedway can be race-ending. You may be able to race, you may be able to drive. Heck, under some circumstances, you might even be able to stay with the pack when you're behind other cars, but get out front and you'll be slow as anything. Sometimes, though, damage can be big enough, you'll be done, and that'll be it. You will be out of this motor race. So these guys do have to be careful now, and this is the majority of the field now after that major incident we had.
And I think that sometimes it takes an incident like that to kind of sober things up and everybody to kind of take it easy. And we had noted at the top of the show that because we saw a big incident like that happen 1 week ago, that maybe these guys would take it a little bit easier right off for the bat. And really, again, they weren't over their head. It was just that bumper-to-bumper contact with something that we really don't talk about a lot on the sim anymore, and that's because these Gen 6 cars have been around for a good amount of time now, and it's not as much as a breaking story as it once was. Is again, the bumpers don't line up on these things. You can't slide across somebody's bumper. You give them a little bit of a shot, and I mean, a hard shot is not much more than a half a mile to a mile or two difference in speed, mile per hour difference on track, but that little bit of contact can really upset these cars, and that's been the only issues tonight, is pretty much squared up bumper to bumper contact that's getting these guys out of shape.
Yeah, it certainly is, and these cars are very sensitive. Let's not forget this Gen 6 car, Evan, has also changed drastically since it first came into not only NASCAR, but also to iRacing. The aero package is different. What we're running now on these cars is drastically different to that point, and, well, combine that not quite lining up with a car that's actually not quite as sticky as it used to be. It's not got quite as much downforce under the car to kind of keep it in place, so these guys are a lot looser, and we do see sometimes cars are getting run inside the rear quarter panel of another car on the high side, and in the corners that can send someone around. So airflow very critical here, especially with these cars being a little bit more, should we say, light on their feet.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, and again, the cars get a little bit more light when they come off of the corner as well, which is a tricky place for that to happen. As you see the 13 go high, a big slide, that time off of the tri-oval. 28 followed him up there, because if there's a place where you got to get on somebody's bumper to start pushing him, it's off the corner, and it just so happens to be that that's where the cars are the most sensitive. So it is an art to be able to figure these things out. And again, these guys are on the plate track every single Friday night. We have seen them run in series here on LSRTV iRacing Live that are, more of your conventional kind of series, as that 94 of Basilia jumps back down to the down to the yellow line, on the inside of the racetrack to maintain the race lead. The races that we cover that kind of follow the more conventional NASCAR Cup Series calendar, and they can hold their own at those intermediate tracks, but when it comes to the plate tracks, it's not even close how well these guys have it figured out to everybody else. Most people just try to avoid the plate races. When it comes up on their calendar, just survive the plate races. These guys, they've got this thing covered, and that's why, despite the fact that you do see big accidents like that, it's because they continue to push the envelope, and everybody wants to discover where that line is and see if they can push it a little bit further week in, week out.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. I mean, I know when it comes to me, Evan, when I'm running through a schedule in a series or official series or league races, the plate races to me, they're a bit of a lottery. There's a bit of a risk there. It's a case of, well, I've got good points, I can fight for my own race in any other track, but here, you're so dependent on everybody else. And this applies to this series as well. These guys, they are dependent on each other here, so they kind of really have to make sure they try and use each other, work together, but at the same time, one guy makes a mistake like we've seen tonight, and that mistake can impact the whole field. So you are racing championships and points, and the Superspeedways are the exception rather than the rule. Well, you kind of hope just to survive and pick up what you can.
Past the 1/3 distance marker in this one, 37 laps currently in the works of the 94 on the night, just a little bit shy of 20 laps away from the halfway point so far in this race. And we continue to keep an eye on what's going on up front. Just that time by in 38-4, Mark Jorgensen Jr. going to go top to bottom, get down to the inside. And again, the 51, the 24, the 88, they're in the waiting positions at the moment. They're not going to go up and make that second lane or that outside lane by themselves unless all three or two of them go at once. I think really what they're waiting on is you see the 22 at Chaburko get on the yellow line, and a nice move by Shane McEachin to get up and around him. The 28-13 to go high. That could have been bad news in quarter number one, but I think what the guys on the inside are waiting for is a couple of guys from maybe 6th, 7th, 8th position, get a second lane going, try to catch up, and as soon as they get up there, kind of hop on and steal the momentum and get pushed to the race lead. We'll see. At the moment, really nobody inside the top 7 going top side. There goes the 88. Doesn't have any help. 28 will go with him. We'll see if 2 cars is enough to fight 3 on the bottom.
This is how it works, of course, Evan. You can get up there on the outside with 2 cars, 3 cars, even 4 cars. And, well, as we see 3 cars go up there now, including the 13, I believe. We've also got the 88 and the 28. 3 cars can get up there, but you don't tend to normally make enough ground. You can get alongside the cars ahead of you, but trying to get past the leaders is tricky. What you need is that big head of steam. You need cars coming to the outside and making their way forwards from a lot further back. Think of this like poles of a magnet. Okay, you put the 2 negative poles together, the magnet moves. So what you do is you have say 10 centimeters of magnets opposing each other. They accelerate. But suddenly you have 10 meters of magnets repelling each other, and you get much, much more speed. That creates that momentum, and that's the side draft we're seeing here. You use that side draft in that second lane, and you get that momentum moving, you get the cars kind of pulling each other along. You get 3 cars, okay, that's a bit of momentum. But you go up a whole field, you've got a whole ton of momentum. You will clear the leader easily every single time. And that's my science for today. Yeah, I just went science.
If there's any way to explain what is often described as a controlled chaos at a crapshoot, I'm sure that any theories are welcome. That kind of makes this kind of plate track race it up. But again, it changes every once in a while on the sim. Obviously, a new build not all that long ago, which these guys going to have to deal with. The group as a collective continues to work on setups and tries to modify those that allows them to do the best that they can with the current draft package and the model that's currently on the build of the iRacing service. That we're on the 13 and on the tie ball got onto the apron that time. And again, the cars just look so touchy at the moment. Went into the tri-oval, and I said at the top of the show race that basically that tri-oval's a turn in and of itself at 16.5 degrees of banking or whatever. And I mean, the 13 just nearly spun out by himself in it.
Certainly is, and in this sort of situation, that tri-oval is probably the loosest place for these cars. In the banking, the big corners, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, of course, they've got a lot of that angle to help them. The angle of the track there is helping push that car into the corner. So you got more grip, whereas the tri-oval, Evan, 16 degrees, that's a lot more flat. I mean, 16 degrees is the sort of thing we'll see in the corner at Phoenix, or similar. And that's, you see how flat we consider somewhere like Phoenix. Now, you've got these cars set up to go fast in these big bank corners, these 30-degree corners. And, issues for the 49 car. Yellow flag is out, and we've got cars backwards on the racetrack. And that was contact evidence, tri-oval.
Looks like the inside of turn number 1 is where he comes to a rest, but it did start back at a tri-oval. We just noted tri-oval probably the loosest place on track for these guys at a 49. Looked like Andy Kessler got out of shape in front of him, and Saunders got sideways as well, and he just tagged an 89 a quick on the outside of the racetrack, sputtered around. That's one that really could have gone either way, but the caution flag does unfortunately come out after those two cars get together. Good news for Saunders was he was able to kind of find out where he was when he was spinning on the apron and got that car straightened back out, was able to keep it out of the fence and really avoided making that a lot worse than it could have been for him. But a tough break nonetheless, going to force him down pit road for repairs, and it is going to slow us down for the 3rd time tonight.
Yeah, certainly is. Drivers will come in for fuel and for tyres, and based on where we are in the laps here, Evan, we know they're making about maybe 30-ish laps, maybe 20 laps here on a tank of fuel, because they are 70% of the tank limited. So this isn't the end, but they'll be able to make it on one more stop after they stop here. So expect everyone to come down pit road here, and then it's one to the end.
The green flag will come more or less right on the money, actually, with the halfway point in this race. So, sometimes the caution flags really screw with the strategy, and you can have an idea when you come into the night. Not that I think most people show up at a plate track on a Friday night and say, okay, let's plan for this race to go green all the way. So, it's not a big deal when yellow kind of throws a monkey wrench into these things. But, cautions oftentimes come at very strange points in the race, and it makes it kind of difficult and has put us in positions where it doesn't necessarily fall right in line with the fuel window, and we've got people, saving under yellow and running out of gas across the start-finish line. It just happens to work that way. Caution flag at the halfway point, almost, again, right on the money. Not going to give these guys too big of a headache. They have a fairly good idea of what they're going to be able to do on fuel. So the 94 is going to come down. He came in from the number 1 position. He means he's got to go all the way down to pit stall number 1 because he qualified on pole. He came down about 3rd or 4th last time, took 2 tires and went to the point, and this time he'll stay longer, go for 4, and he'll lose spots.
He certainly will, but I think that's a good call for Frank Basillo, the 3rd there, Evan, of course. 4 tyres now. He took 2 tyres last time. Those outside tyres, they're a bit on the old side, so great call by the 94. You've lost some track position to be able to make it back up.
94 going to cycle back out with the 80 down to back quick, the 7 of Ronnie Watford, the 28 of Shade of Bakichin, the 88 of Art Jorgensen Jr. in front of him. Those drivers leading off of the pit lane. Handful of drivers staying out looking for wave bys. Include about 29th and through 24th position. Looks like Berger, Warren, Hanner, Pacini, and Henry and Hedrick looking to get themselves back to the lead lap by deciding not to come down to the pit lane. this time by. We'll take this opportunity under the caution flag to step away, go LSRTV non-stop so you don't miss a moment of the action. When we come back, we'll take a look at your iRacing Midway race break. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series at iRacing Live. Back to Lincoln, Alabama in a moment. We take a look back up front, the lights off on top of the pace car. We get set for a restart here tonight from Talladega, just 2 laps shy of crossing the halfway point in tonight's event from the Talladega Superspeedway. Once things get sorted out off for the restart, we'll take a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway race break. We'll talk you through the first half of the race, get you set for the second half, and the countdown to the checkered flag. The lineup going to be as such. Again, a little bit of shake-up with drivers decided to take on different tires. Jorgensen, McKeechin, Wofford, Quick, 1, 2, 3, 4. Basilia came down. P. Rachel, he will be the race leader. Was the race leader, rather. He will be back in 5th position, though, and cars have been a little bit testy tonight, so I think the 4 tires might have been a good call.
I think that's true, Evan. We'll have to see how this one pans out, but he's close enough to the front that it's not going to really make a difference for him, so best call to make at the time, exactly the one he made.
Pace car going to knock off and away this time, and Jorgensen going to be in control of the field. As noted, Shane McEachin side by side with him, battling on the front row. There are going to be now 29 drivers on the lead lap, following a lot of wave buys. Basically everybody right back into this thing. As across the start finish line we go, we get them up into third, into fourth gear, get them up to speed, off to 1 and 2.
Yeah, we certainly do, and of course the outside lane just dropping back a little bit this time by, not quite holding that same draft they had before. The 13 on the inside there, Dominic Diebold, he would be a sucker hole there. Nobody on his outside or inside, he can choose where he wants to go, but his outside line could get a big run here, Evan. They could certainly get some big momentum moving forwards, and that would be a huge advantage, so could be time to hop out and ride the elevator all the way to the front. But there's a very familiar name at the very front of our field, Martin Jorgensen Jr., along with Shane McEachin and, of course, Frank Whistler third on the inside lane. Frank's already up to third place after that restart, so what was starting fifth, 2 spots off the restart, he's back where he needs to be.
A lot of single falling out off of this restart. There's still the 28, the 89, and the 00 up there, but I think the last at least 2 times in a row we've been side by side for second at least off the first lap for a restart. You see the 94 of Basilia, he is not at all shying away from going top side and tries to pinch that 70 machine down, but the 88 of Jorgensen going to come up on the back straight away, shut the door, and they'll go high. We talked about this earlier, though. Rachel, the 94, instead of just pulling in line, insists on going to that third lane, and it's just not going to work out for him, I don't think.
What an escape there by Frank Basilia III. If we have a race moment today, it is that. He threads the needle and avoids what could have been a huge incident there, Evan. And Frank Basilia III, skin of his teeth, he saves himself for the potential to run for this race with victory as we cross the halfway point.
Well, the 88 kind of works with the 51 and all of that, and instead of just going right back down to the bottom, stayed high long enough for the 51 of Oltmans to be able to kind of latch onto him, and they go back down to the bottom as you do. Now Jorgensen back to the outside, and the 13 gonna go to the third lane. He tries to come back down, and he will just make it in front of Frank Basilia, the 94. Keep it a half high open at no times, I think, just trying to find a little lane to open up to make something happen. But with that, though, we have crossed the halfway point of tonight's race, so we'll take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and more. 49 laps complete. Your race leader is Mark Jorgensen Jr., Dominic Diebold 24th to second, Jason Oltmans, Frank Basilia, Rodney Wofford all started inside of the top 10. They run third, 4th, and 5th. Just behind them, Shane McEachin runs in 6th at the moment. Andy Kessler still in the top 10 in the number 7 spot right now. Matt Quick runs 8th just behind Tim. Dwayne Cooper 9th, and Brandon Cruz Vice rounds out our top 10.
He certainly does, and running in 11th place today is Derek Walker in that number 20 machine. Behind him, Kelly Dahl 11th, Andrew Berger in 12th, Chris Persini is in 13th, sorry, in 14th, I'm getting those numbers mixed up. Rod Flagg in 15th, Scott Warren in 16th, Josh Vickery, Brandon Chaburko, Glenn Hedrick, and Corey Henry in 20th.
You're going to have to look 1.7 seconds back to find 21st Dan Harrington. Larry Camp runs 22nd, Paul Servant 23rd, Ray Rittenhour the 2nd and 24th, with Daniel Holloway in 25th spot. Still on the lead lap, 26th through 29th, Josh Hanner, Gary Champion, Scott Saunders, and Roger Stewart. 30th position, 13 laps down, but still on track is Dana Osborne. Joel Wood is 31st, 23 laps down. Garrett Atwell is 32nd, 36 laps down. The fact remains we have still yet to have a driver retire from tonight's race through 51 laps of action. That was a look at your iRacing the Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today for more information. So Jorgensen, through all of this, is able to hold his own in the race lead. The 13 of Dominic Diebold side by side on the outside. He's the only driver topside really inside the top 8 or so, falling backwards right now as he struggles to get that side draft locked up. Support is inbound, though. All of a sudden, 3 drivers going to go topside. The 28, the 94, and the 7. As Wofford comes up over the nose of the 94, Basilia decides to duck back down low and leaves the 7 hanging just like that. Well,
this is something we expect to see now and again here, of course, but right now these guys are on a move. They are really getting angsty here, Evan. They're getting out there. We've got some 3 wide a little bit further back. The 20 car pulls high. He's interested. Derek Walker there, getting a 3-car train at the top here. Going to go for a 3rd lane again. 20, the 1, and the 22 cars. Oh look, it's the 22 going 3 wide again. Why am I not surprised?
I have a feeling that it's just boring if he's not. I think he's just trying to entertain himself at the moment as they are 3 wide just inside of the top 10. Andy Kessler, one of the drivers in that mix as well, and in front of them basically 2 by 2, top to bottom inside of the top 10 right now. The lead pack is really getting after it. The outside lane is finally formed up. There's 3 drivers on the outside of the racetrack, and again, there was really nobody there a lap ago. The outside comes in spurts. It comes and goes, and it hasn't really been at all tonight. When you think about it, Rachel, an outside line that has been there consistently, talking about, you know, a group of 7 or 8 drivers that just doesn't go anywhere. You get a couple of guys here, they go at it, somebody takes the race lead, and then we kind of sit around for 3 laps and wait. So the outside has not been a consistent lane, but it has been a viable one when it opens up.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Talladega is one of those places where it absolutely works, Evan, of course. At Daytona, 3 wide, that's a tight fit. Here, 3 wide is easy, 4 wide is possible. 5 wide's a tight fit, but you can try anything, really. As at the front of it, look at this, 2 lots of 3 cars here. Jorgensen Jr., Frank Priscilla III, Jason Altmans, Rodney Wolford, Shane McKeachy, and Andrew Berger there in that 6-car group. As 24 can't decide where he wants to go. Andrew Berger picking lanes as he goes. As, oh look, it's lane swap o'clock from Mark Jorgensen Jr. as he starts to play both sides.
Yeah, the 88 is somebody who does that a lot more than others, and you do see other people do it, and you have to be careful as that 94 just kind of goes up to that 3rd lane, and all that does is pushes the 88 back down to the bottom. And as long as Basilia doesn't go up an entire lane, enough that would, in theory, give that 7 room to get down the bottom, he'll be okay. But, you know, you'll see other guys, you know, Brandon Chaburko, somebody who we've seen try to play that game and protect, and you see it actually worked out good for the 94 that time, because the 94 picked up the push of the 88, and they both got down in front of the 51 machine. But I think that out of anybody, while we do see, you know, a good amount of people try it here and there on a consistent basis, nobody is as comfortable working both lanes as the 88 team is.
Oh, absolutely, and there's an absolute art form to it, Evan. I'm sure I've mentioned it before on the on this series, but people kind of misinterpret this one when we see the both lane playing. This isn't Mark Jorgensen Jr. going up there to block the outside lane. He isn't going up there to kind of get in the way and slow them down and stop them getting past him. He's not throwing a block in a classic sense, as he kind of does a little bit there, but that kind of proves my point in the opposite sense. But what he's doing is, if you see once the 2 lanes are kind of level, what he'll do is he'll go to a lane, pull them forwards so they have the advantage. He'll then move up to the other lane, dropping the lane that he just left, which means they lose momentum and slow down and can't get a run on him. And then he goes up to the next lane, pulls them. So you start seeing him dropping lanes rather than blocking lanes, and that dropping lanes is meaning no one really gets a big head of steam, and no one can really get past you when you're doing that. So you are controlling the race pace.
3 wide we go again with the 7, the 20, and the 1 on the outside, and you know, Walker could go to the middle if he wanted to. But in fact, now really the 7's the only one 3 wide because you know, the 20 and the 1 don't nearly have 2 drivers inside of them. They just voluntarily run on that 3rd lane. And again, it's about the 2nd time tonight we've seen a 3rd lane group up of about 3 to 4 drivers, and it's just not working tonight. They're able to get there, but they get stuck once they get about even with the drivers in the middle lane. And the 3rd lane, it's not impossible. You can get that lane going, but that lane so far hasn't done anything for those guys.
Certainly, but nearly having issues at the front as things get a little squiffy on track there. Some seriously hinky racing, but they all managed to keep it in one piece as Frank Priscilla III with his 4 tyres, Evan, back to the point.
And it is going to be that constant game of chess, and there goes the 94 once again. Big contact off of quarter number 2, and it breaks out with contact on the front row, and Frank Basilia just now going to come to a stop on all 4 tires. More junk that time off of 2.
That was insane, Evan. This is exactly what you want to do. We talk about not lining up with bumpers. The 51 of Altmans does just that. And he just gets into the corner of Priscilla III. And that, imagine that incident, Evan, for me, because that is absolutely insane. Frank, full speed, 200 miles an hour, gets turned hard right into that outside safer barrier head first. Huge, huge impact for him. And the field is toast. And a good number of drivers here have already used up that fast repair, so could be some people out to this one before we get going.
Yeah, just based on the yellow before this, we were able to see guys get wave bys, and we had just basically gotten everybody who got junked on that one big accident off of quarter number 2, or rather in the quarter number 3 not all that long ago. Everybody just got back into things, and because there have only been 3-4 yellows up to this point, but that one included basically 3/4 of the field, I think it's safe to say that most people at that point were riding with that quick fix having already been used up. So for a lot of these guys, and we'll have to see what happens to Frank Basile as he takes a tow back to the pit lane, their night may be done because of that. That was a huge hit, though, and again, the problem is this contact continues to happen up at the front of the field, and that's why, despite the fact that, sure, the initial contact's big, it's those cars come sliding back down the track, and the track gets blocked, and you can't just simply check up for 203 miles an hour and not get into the accident, and that's how these things end up in double digits.
Absolutely, and this is dramatic, but look who got out of this one scot-free. Mark Jorgensen Jr. He literally cleared that wreck by millimeters, and he is in the absolute catbird seat now.
And he will bring us down to the pit lane. Driver who heads off to pit stall number 3, Mark Jorgensen Jr. in from the number 1 position. We had just noted as well, I think that Basile decided to be careful and go with 4 tires, Rachel, on that previous yellow, thinking that might have helped him out. It served absolutely no purpose after he took that shot to the back end. Nonetheless, Jorgensen going to do just as Basile did the caution flag cycle before, and that is give up the race lead by going for 4 tires.
Certainly has, of course, and well, Frank was the third. Yeah, he took 4 new tires, but well, 4 fresh tires isn't going to help you much, Evan, when your 2 rear tires are jacked up off the ground by the car behind. So, unfortunately, only his front tires were being used when that crash happened.
So the new order, as they come off of the pit lane, at least behind the pace car, again, a couple of guys decide not to come down to the pit lane, but at least Dan Harrington right now is provisionally scored as our race leader. Not sure if I'm convinced that he is going to stay out, for this entirety. We are at about that 2/3 distance marker, so, early in the race, I don't think it's quite uncommon to see guys stay out, get the bonus point, Rachel, then decide to come down to the pit lane and drop to the back of the pack, because really they do that so that they're, can stay safe, be behind any of these accidents, but to do that at about 2/3 distance is a little bit dicey. I'm not sure if you can be that comfortable to be able to make that time back up in a relatively short amount of time. So it looks like Harrington is going to be coming pit side, but we'll keep an eye.
Yeah, we certainly will. See what happens with Matt Harrington, what he will do in this one. Well, Dan Harrington, I should say, not Matt Harrington. But the rest will stay out. Matt Quick going to be your new leader.
He will assume the top spot. Matt Quick in the number 89 machine. Was down pit road the last time under the caution flag. However, he missed his pit stall. And I think that kind of right to the point that I was making, if this was at the 1/3 distance marker, I'm sure that he would have come down and got service, because by him coming down pit road, and we do see people come down pit road, just drive through pit road, and that's so that they can pit at the 1 to go, coming to the 1 to go for the restart and drop to the back. But he made a movement towards the stall, Rachel, just missed it, was a little bit late, and had to get back out on the racetrack. I think because of that, it showed that he intended on pitting. But I think kind of the point that I made, I think that he realizes, you can't just voluntarily go from 1st to 24th with 30 laps to go and be in a realistic position. And I think, well, it's not what he wanted to do. I think the audible call by the 89 may just be to stay out.
Yeah, absolutely. And as it stands, it's not a huge field to run here, but a couple of cars might come in who have damage. But as it stands, you don't want to go to the back now. It's too late to go back. A lot can still happen, sure, but it's kind of past that point now of playing it safe. You've got to be in this one racing if you want to win this.
One of the drivers who got junked up on that one, he just about made it through, and when he was almost clear of it, he got a good shot by, I think it was the 51, who came bouncing back off of the wall. Kelly Dahl's night is done. And we're on the radio with the driver of the number 99, Kelly. A tough break for you guys. Started out in the middle of the pack, and it has been kind of a rough one as far as those big accidents. And I think your story is going to be the story for many guys tonight, and that's really just getting caught up in somebody else's mess.
Yeah, the big problem is a lot of these wrecks are happening right at the front of the field. And, when everyone's got to drive past these wrecks, that's just going to make them larger. And Fortunately, I thought I had a huge gap. Looked like the track cleared for me. I got off the brakes, started to get back on the gas, and that 51 just ricocheted off the wall hard.
It seems that a lot of the incidents tonight, in fact, almost every single one, has been caused by somebody just getting into the back of somebody else in front of them, and the cars obviously not reacting very kindly to that contact. They seem a little bit more on edge tonight because this isn't necessarily something that we see all the time, but it seems like consistently tonight you get somebody not squared up and that car's going for a ride.
And I'm surprised they're even able to get up to the bumper. I wasn't able to do that. I couldn't get that car to draft at all, but yeah, it looks like I guess a few people just trying to bump draft and not being quite squared up and unfortunately turning each other. So it's just people that are trying to push a little too hard, and it's unfortunately a bit of a byproduct of that.
Race going to go back out of green flag conditions. I know that you guys are not necessarily in this city anymore, so we'll let you take off. Anybody that you want to give a shout out to while we got you?
Oh, well, I'd like to thank you guys. I had the LSRTV logo on the car tonight. Ran that paint scheme finally, and I'd like to thank anyone that was out there watching and cheering for me. And unfortunately, didn't quite get the finish I was expecting, but just gonna have to gear up for next week.
Driver who's going to have to come home with about a 28th place finish tonight after being involved in an accident, Kelly Dahl. Kelly, thanks for sticking around chatting.
Problem.
So we get set for the restart and double them up once again. This time, Ronnie Wofford going to go to the front row. Again, Jorgensen was our race leader. When a caution flag came out, he decided to go with 4 tires. So the slight gamble of 2 allows Wofford and Walker, Rachel, to go up and set up side by side 1-2 on the front row.
Yeah, it certainly does. Big advantage here for those 2 drivers. So it's going to be a really interesting one to see what they can do. Teammates, of course, at the front here. That'll be a critical point for this one. Of course, under 30 laps to go now, Evan. And, well, that's exactly where you want to be. Up there with friends. Look who's behind them. To 12. Pace car off. In your hands.
We will see if this is going to be the final restart on the night. 2/3 distance tonight from Talladega. 62 laps down and 32 laps to go. American Ethanol green flag flies under the flag stand. They come, and we are back underway once again as the outside line actually has a small advantage off the quarter number 3. They'll have to go up the 33 degrees of banking, though. Advantage should go to Wofford through the center of the quarter as they head off to the backstretch.
Certainly is, and good run by the outside here as we went on to this restart. Of course, they're holding their ground. Led by the 20 on the outside there of Derek Walker. 24 car behind him of Andrew Burge. We've got Rod Flagg, we've got Corey Henry, Glenn Hedrick on the outside there. They're making this one work still, and it's going to be fantastic if they can pull this one straight with your leaders. But with the 2 teammates, I can't see the 20 going completely full throttle all the time, Evan. But he's happy with this being a DHI front row.
The guys on the inside have to constantly feather the throttle, and we were talking with Kelly there. It's so difficult to get to the bumper that guys are hesitant when they're able to get there to back off, and if you back off a little bit too much, it could be a couple of laps before you get back up there. You could drop back a significant enough margin for a lane to open up between you and the car in front of you, and somebody could jump up and take that spot from you. So these guys kind of have to walk a very fine line, and for the 88, the 00, and etc. on the bottom of the racetrack, they're not foot down all the way around this place. They're feathering, trying to maintain a safe gap, and you see right there with the 00 and the 88. You fall back just a little bit too much, a lane opens up just like that, your spot's gone. Derek Walker comes down and takes that spot away from Dwayne Cooper, and with that, leaves that 24 of Andrew Berger without help on the outside of the racetrack.
So it does, but the teammates on the low side there is going to pull out again, and he'll actually have some help now as 00 comes up as well. Jorgensen Jr. moves up to try and get involved, but maybe a little too late as the 20 goes up the track and the 00 gets underneath him. This is getting a bit shaky, boys. You've all done this bit a few times before, and perhaps being a little too risky, Evan, for my book. I mean, we've seen 2 incidents caused by cars hooking each other at the moment, and this is not where you want to be making very close calls.
Just like that, the outside lane is back, and the 20 machine coming up on the outside may be able to try to get a little bit of revenge here and make that top side of the racetrack work after he came down, blocked off the 00, and got back out to the outside. Jorgensen wants to come up as well. He will. The 7 going to open the door on the inside, and he got him. You could see that one from a mile away, and now the 00's in the grass. Cooper, all kinds of out of control. He'll bring it back in and avoids another big problem, but what a move by Mark Jorgensen Jr. I think he kind of played Rodney Watford there, Rachel. We've seen him do that in the past. sit about a lane higher than the 7, bring him up, and then dive to the inside. And he caught that 7 sleeping. Problem is, he doesn't have any help on the inside. Wofford looks like he'll get it back, and he does.
He certainly does, but it's just the momentum you get from that dive down the track there, Evan, and Jorgensen Jr. knows how to use that to his advantage. But, yeah, DHI back in front again, controlling this one, red flag on the outside with them. Here comes the 12 car as well. That is Corey Henry. But Jorgensen Jr., yeah, he's in the right place. He has to wait, but he has no help. He's not got his teammate, of course, anywhere near him. So that's something he has to try and hope he can get up there or find someone that will work with him. Because right now, he's fighting against a superior force in numbers.
And again, now we start to get later into this race, and I think that with that last yellow, these guys might just be able to get to the end of this. 32 might be pushing it a little bit, Rachel, when we talk about the fact that these guys, I believe, are running with that 70% fuel cell, so that might be close.
Oh, certainly expecting it to be very, very close here, Evan. So we'll see what they can actually pull out with this one, but they may need to come down again. It was very, very close to go last caution.
So what this means is a lot of, and it seems funny to say this, but you might see less passes later on in this race than you do early, because again, early these guys are tested the waters, they're tested out what the weather conditions combined with this week's setup have, allows them to do. But now you get later in the race, it's all about protecting your position. That double O, I thought was in a great spot, and I don't think Dwayne Cooper had any intentions of leaving, being about that 3rd or 4th car on the inside. Well, he got loose on the apron, had the drop back. He's in 13th position at a second off, just trailing the lead pack. But, you look at some of the guys who haven't been doing as much. How about that 13 to Dominic Dieball? I think he's happy where he is. I think that 12 machine to Corey Henry is happy where he is right now. They just want to stay in the top 5. And in all honesty, stay in striking position until we really get down late in this thing with maybe 5 to go. Then they'll start making moves. But you don't want to make a move now. That will cost you your spot inside of the lead group. Then have to fall back and be scrambling at the end of the race. Try to just get back out there to even have a shot at things.
Yeah, certainly. You want to make sure you have a good position right now to strike from, but you want to have somewhere where you're actually happy being as well, because you may not be able to move. So you don't want to have to really put a lot of pressure on, like you say. It's all about placement.
Big opening up on the inside behind the 7 Rodney Wofford as Jorgensen jumps out of line. That 13 to Dominic Dieball doesn't take the gamble. He goes low. He tries to save the 7. He can't do it. And Jorgensen Jr., just like that, going to go back to the race lead. Second time in, 5 laps? The 24's been left hanging again.
Yeah, Alex Berger does not exactly have anyone to work with him right now, and he must feel very, Andrew Berger, sorry, must feel like he maybe didn't put his body spray on this morning, because he stinks.
Yeah, I'm sure that if the 88 needs some help late in the race, he's not going to find it courtesy of the number 24 team. Don't expect to be making friends like that over the course of the rest of this thing. We'll see that 13 though with Dominic Dieball. Surprised to me that he's going to go topside. The 88 going to jump up there with him, protect that line, and then go back down to the inside. I think that really, out of the 8, 7 or so drivers, whatever the number you say, that have been kind of consistently up front since the halfway point, as Wofford comes up on the 13, and I think Dominic Dieball is the reason we didn't have a big wreck there, because that was a little bit too close to call. But I think that a lot of the guys are calling the shots here. The 88 has done a fantastic job. Doesn't matter if he's leading on the inside or 3 cars back at the inside, or vice versa, leading on the outside, 3 cars back at the outside. He knows how to manipulate these guys to get his way through the field. But I think that if there's anything that some of the newer guys or, the non-series veterans lack, if anything, it might be that ability.
Certainly will be, of course, and this is coming to a time where this is really critical now. Everyone's really pushing to make this one work here, Evan. They want to get this position. They want to make sure they can stay up here, so you are fighting against the entire horde, and Jorgensen Jr. has to hold this entire field off. The 13, absolutely great position for him. Dominic Dieball could be in for a win tonight if he can hold himself at the front of this one late. A good push on the outside could see him get alongside and past Jorgensen Jr., so you've got to expect he will want to do everything he can to stay here.
You see 2-driver advantage for the guys that are inside to the 8, 8, and the 7. Now 10 laps off of the last restart. Will be 22 laps to go. This time by when that second driver in line on the inside jumps out, it is the best opportunity to make a pass for the race lead, because that 12 isn't sucking up to the back of the 88. Jorgensen was falling back to Corey Henry, and when you have that gap and they lose that, what could really only be 2-3 miles an hour at tops, that's the best kind of possibility for the guys on the outside to take advantage of. They weren't able to do it that time, and again, I stand by my theory that if you're side by side for the race lead, you're not going to pass somebody because you need to come from behind and get some momentum. But we'll see what Rodney Wofford does here on the outside of the racetrack. Again, Dominic Dieball has done a spectacular job tonight, as we've noted many a time, from coming up from 24th where he was on the grid, but the 13 is yet, I think, to execute one of those critical moves on the outside.
Yeah, and that's it. The 13's really just been carried up here at the moment, Evan, so I don't think he's perhaps got the speed even with that car or the side suck to actually get that thing moving forwards, but he could definitely stay up here. But it's just getting that critical movement. I just don't think he's perhaps got the speed in that machine to go to the front. He can get up to it, but that's about it. Whereas the 7, we know he's capable of getting this done.
21 kind of back into the picture for the first time in just a little bit. Glenn Hendrick right there. The 20 still hanging out. How about just a little bit further back, the one of Chris Passini back into things with a little bit of damage, in fact, on the right rear quarter panel of that Pennzoil Chevrolet, but nonetheless make it work. There'll be 20 laps to go, this time by just about at the point of no return and the home stretch, if you will, late in this race. And again, we just wait for somebody to make that critical move, because so far we haven't seen a period of 2-3 laps where somebody has been able to lead on a consistent basis. It's still a revolving door up front. There is going to be a point where everybody stops making moves and, kind of plays chicken. Who's going to make the first move? Kind of to the point that I noted a little bit ago on the run prior to this most recent caution and restart, where late in the races, guys make less moves because each move has a little bit more of a consequence behind it. So that's 7 to Rodney Wofford in a spectacular spot at the moment. He impressed me by being able to make that move on the outside. We'll see, though, if Jorgensen's able to get it once again. Remember, the 88 faked him out. We'll see if he does it again. Look at the 12 of Corey Henry up the inside. Left side tires on the yellow line. Got there and then gives up the spot.
Yeah, he said it does. Look at the 13. He's going to that front now. We didn't expect it, but is he going to ditch Berger as well? No, he can't make it quite past Rodney Wofford, so he'll have to stay in line there. But big run. I wasn't expecting that from Dominic Dieball, Evan.
Yeah, and again, I think he has to get a little bit more into it and take that little bit more of a gamble. And I keep saying, ironically enough, that guys are going to be taking less and less gambles later in this race it goes, but the 13 has to do something again. I think the 13 would be in a better position if he was in that open spot right now on the inside, in between the 88 and the 12 on the bottom. I think that the best place that for him to be right now would be on the inside of the racetrack, but he's leading the outside line. He was able to get the job done and help that 7 go to the race lead, but I just haven't seen the 13 aggressive enough on the pinch down, pressuring those guys on the inside. You can see that white hash mark on the inside end of the corner, and he'll drift his way down in the center to try to tighten things up. I think he has to do a little bit more of that if he wants to continue to creep forward. Right now, he's kind of stuck at about second or third place right now, side by side with the 12, not being able to get up there. And as well, I guess you could also request a little bit more help from behind. Maybe Andrew Berger get a little bit tighter up, tucked on that bumper.
Certainly could happen, and certainly could help him here as it stands, but Berger's not really pushing as much as he could do. Behind him there, of course, 28 of Shane McEachin, not really pushing, but also could be a contender. Look at how our race map has changed here, Evan, of course. We've lost so many of these big names, like Frank Basile III. We've lost Brandon Chaburko, Josh Hanna running up front early on, of course. Guys who've, of course, been involved in some incidents so far today. So we've kind of changed this kind of map at the front a lot. Dana Osborne, one of our winners this season, also out at this stage. Garrett Atwell out at this stage. So we've changed this. Jason Altman's, of course, too. He's a lap down right now. And this race dynamic has completely changed. We've not got some of our agitators, shall we say, at the front that stir this up and make it really happen. So we're seeing a perhaps slightly more subdued one here. There's another run by the 13 as they look to go 3 wide behind him. The 20 car, the 1, the teammates there from DHI, not thinking this is really moving as fast as they'd like. Maybe they think they can do something better themselves.
If you're a fan of superstitions, Rodney Wofford's going to win this race. The number 7 led at lap number 77. So we'll see if that at all plays into his favor. The 13 up alongside him. Again, best opportunity for the 13 so far tonight, but he gets there into the corner. And again, you have to get that run started really in the center of 1 and 2. You have to get hooked up off of the corner, and you have to use every single foot you can to the back straightaway to get the job done. If you get there, in the corner. The outside just not a place to be in the corner. Very rarely do we see any passes really made, Rachel, but the drivers on the outside in the center of the turn almost exclusively happens down the back.
Oh, certainly. You really got to make sure you get that run through the corner and onto the back stretch. And that's exactly what you'll make it. You'll make it going in towards number 3. So it's all about getting the corner to set you up rather than passing there. You're right. You just don't get the amount of aero you need to pass in the corner as we get past the 4 car on the inside there, go out well. But 13 to the point here. He'll lead a lap, we expect.
Looks like he's going to be able to get the job done. Can he hang on to it this time? Clear and in front. How about Dominic Dyball, a name who, if you've been watching LSRTV for some time, you will remember stretching 2-3+ years back. He is your leader with 79 laps complete, and now you have to start doing the math of what a caution flag would have been with 15 laps to go, Rachel. A caution flag period takes up about 5 laps. By the time the yellow flag comes out to the opportunity where we get back into green flag racing conditions. So a yellow now would take a third out of what's left of this race. So 15 laps to go is still a lot of time, but it's also not a lot of time. Oh, and contact! His slide in corner number 3. What a save by Dyball. They'll go 3-1 for the race lead, and the 24's in the wall.
24 in the wall, but he also saves it there, as it could have been a huge incident there, of course, but managed to hold on to it. And the 13 stays at the sharp end of this too, as the 24 car there, smacked up into the wall. Not a great one for him, but I'm going to try and get a replay of what happened and show you what happened, but oh, that could have been so much worse. But now the 13 has bodywork damage, I think, a little bit maybe. No, he's looking okay, so 13 actually got away with that one. That's impressive. That could have been a disaster, Evan.
It was a great piece of driving, and I know that he did hit the 24, and Andrew Berger was really just at the wrong place at the wrong time, so you do have to give a tip of the cap to the 24 for being able to recover from that as well. But Dominic Dyball hung on to a car that we have seen 3-4 other guys junk tonight, and that was, again, contact on the left rear quarter panel into the corner. It upset things. That was almost an exact recreation of the big one that we had in turn number 3, minus the wreck, though. It was a great piece of driving. The 13, though, is still out of shape. Got sideways, and he'll get dumped out of the tri-oval. Dyball going to get turned, and caution is out.
Yeah, that was, I think he did have some bodywork damage there, Evan, as we'll get a replay for you, because he was a little bit slow, but the 21 car there, Glenn Hendrick just gets into the back and not moving as fast as he expected. It puts them both on the outside there. An unfortunate victim of that was the 57 car. He got caught up in trying to get through that incident as, no, the 97, I'm reading it completely wrong. That was, I believe, the car of Josh Vickery. So, unfortunate one for Josh Vickery too. He's in a bad shape. I think that might be his race too, but oh, yeah. Glenn Hedrick, of course, blaming over the radio, blaming the car there, the 13 of Dominic Dyball, for that incident, saying he was slow and he barely touched him. But, I mean, the camera says a different story, Evan. We saw that the car there of Glenn Hedrick just kind of straight in the back there. He knew he was faster, but he tried to hook him, and this happened all race long. We've seen this in 3 of these incidents. Not hooking the bumper straight when you're going to hit someone, and it spins people.
I think that top shot was the best view of that, but again, the 13 got out of shape. He did have some damage after that close call a couple of laps before, and Hedrick said it barely touched him. He did, but we've seen 4 accidents caused by somebody barely touching him, and based on what we've seen tonight, I know it's inside of 15 laps to go, but if barely touching somebody has wrecked somebody, you should avoid barely touching them. And it's a tough break because, Glenn Hedrick obviously didn't want to intentionally turn it, but I think that you saw that slow motion shot from above. It really showed the story the best because the 21 gets on his right rear, and you can see by using those white line markers on the racetrack as a reference, gets on the right rear, comes to the left, and he swipes across that bumper, and it hooked the 13. And I think that was the best angle to show you what happened.
So what you're suggesting, Evan, is he swiped right?
Swiped left.
Oh, he swiped left.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it's
that says more than we need to know, honestly.
We'll let them deal with that off track after they made their connection on track. That's what we'll call it.
Yeah, of course. They made the connection on track. They can go off and they can have their own little kind of Superspeedway Cup version of a Tinder date. So we'll see if they have an argument on camera for us.
We were talking about
our producers telling us we need a pun counter for next week, and If he wants me to come out with more puns, I could take this up to Monday Night Skippy's levels, Cisco.
We can integrate it into the ticker. We can have a whole.
We can.
We got
the Rachel
car
Wyford
behind,
pun counter.
fast lap, last lap. We can have a pun counter up there as well.
The punometer.
Okay. Well, that's enough of that. Drivers on and off of the pit lane. We were talking about fuel. Rodney Wofford tops off, so they weren't completely comfortable with the fuel they had on board, so they'll top off. But interesting, no tires for him. I think that's the first time tonight. We've seen really a handful of guys come down and just not take tires, considering how important they've seemed to be so far.
Yeah, certainly, but this is really a run to the end now. So these guys, they are really in a position where tyres aren't going to be a huge problem. I think they've seen so far in these runs that they haven't been in the be-all and end-all of the race, so you can kind of afford to gamble a little bit.
So they're going to get back out on track. They will hit the reset button, and we will take this opportunity to step aside one final time while cars are still on track. 10 laps to go from Talladega. What could be either the or the second to last restart? Coming up on the night, Ray Rittenauer in the number 87 machine stays out to take over the race lead from Talladega. You're watching the Superspeedway Cup Series on LSRTV at iRacing Live. Things will get fun when we get back.
More than impressive, I have to say. I mean, the track is identical to the real track. I was blown away how realistic it is. Every little bump, every little spray paint, everything is exactly like you're there at the track. It was a great experience. This is a warm-up lap now. Tires to get warmed up. The engine. Breathe a little bit here when you go through that little bump there. And then it's flat pretty much all the way through here, just about. Hard braking. This is the slowest part of the track. And then I've done, I did many races in Formula 3, Formula 2. And then I did the very last race they did there in Group C in 1983 in the 956 Porsche. That's when Beloff got the lap record at the 6:11. I think I was second on the grid with the 6:14 or something. Which was, I mean, those cars were awesome around there, of course, like any car is, that speed. And this is the corner of all corners here, the Schwedenkreuz. Flat all the way into it. And then trail brake all the way into the apex here. And then hard at it again, get good speed down the hill here. Mega fast down this hill here. Just jump from one apex to the next. Gotta be super precise here. I mean, it's almost exactly like the real thing. So, I mean, it is certainly realistic enough to get past the very, a lot of the initial hurdles you have when you try to learn to drive a race car, So, I mean, I think it's an excellent tool to learn how to race for sure, or learn to drive a car on a racetrack.
We are back live from the Talladega Superspeedway. Happy to have you with us at LSRTV and iRacing Live. Evan Pasoko, Rachel Whiteford, topside with you with the LSRTV booth. Cisco Scaramuza is downstairs. We're gearing up for what may be the final restart on the night. 86 laps going to be complete, just 8 laps to go tonight from the Talladega Superspeedway. It is the 4th race on the Season 14 Superspeedway Cup Series Championship, and we're happy that you are going to be along for the ride, quite literally and figuratively, depending on how the last couple of these laps shake out. We have seen quite a couple of guys go on some rides so far tonight. We've seen big junk, we've seen good racing. It is going to come to its penultimate time, and we'll see maybe if this is going to be the final time that we go into green flag conditions. We are to find out. The running order shuffled up a little bit under the yellow as the pace car ducks off and away. Quick, Rittenauer, Watford, Walker, Henry inside of the top 10. The CD, Jorgensen, Flag, Berger, and Servant through the top 10. The pace car dove off and away. Matt Quick in control. Green flag flies. We're back at it.
We're sending our back racing now. Matt Quick, right now, they are an important duo up there, of course, but look at this. Look at the number of cars. We've got those green window banners, Evan. That is 4 cars under an umbrella. That is DHI, and it's 4 of them right there in your top 6. In fact, they are 4 of the top 6 right now. Row 2 and row 3. The 7, the 20, the 12, and the 1. That's going to be difficult for Jorgensen Jr. to get past, so we could see them getting one of those DHI cars. A win here today. If they can get hooked up on the bottom, they will be hard to beat as the 87 holding people up on the outside. Look at another turning situation happening very soon.
I feel like it's deja vu that we talk about those guys and that team who has really kicked it up this season as far as putting the challenge to these guys, and they're in a fantastic spot at the moment. The Dark Horse guys of trying to get the job done here with a lot of guys up inside of the top 10 and the top 5. The 89 machine, though, the most important spot occupied by Matt Quick at the moment. Again, he was another driver who was involved in an accident earlier tonight, but somebody else who has kind of used the misfortune of others and a couple of yellows here and there to get himself back in a position, but he doesn't have many friends. There goes those teammates topside, the 7 and the 12, but they made the move into quarter number 3, and I think Jorgensen might just save the 89.
Certainly might. Jorgensen Jr. bullying his way in amongst the DHI cars, and that is the fox amongst the pigeons right here as he's going to work his way forwards. Matt Quick still leading. Big shunt there on Grumpy Cat on his rear bumper from Rodney Wofford on the outside, trying to hold himself alongside there, but Jorgensen Jr. really pushing Matt Quick, doing everything he can here to break this unity of the DHI cars, and in doing just that, he will pull up and try and get clear. He does just about, nearly hooks 7 and pushes Wofford up. Wofford taking evasive action, and he keeps himself going. That was nearly a disaster again.
And the 88 in the end is going to get the job done. There's always somehow and some way, and he saved Matt Quick, but then he hung him out to dry, and he takes over the race lead, this time by 89 laps down. We will take lap number 90 and take 5 laps left to go. So that is going to be the point of no return. If a caution flag comes out with 5 laps are left, this race will coast across the start-finish line behind the iRacing.com Ford Mustang GT pace car. So, either the checker or the yellow is going to end this race, and the 7 wants to be in front regardless of what it happens. Rodney Wofford, big run out of quarter number 2. He's clear, but he doesn't move down. He'll wait to bring Corey Henry, his teammate, with him. Do they go to the inside once they get clear? They do. Had to leave the 1 and the 20 on the outside, but nonetheless a great exchange to put those 2 cars up front.
I wouldn't be surprised here, Evan, if the 7 and the 12 starting to just ease off a little bit, put Jorgensen Jr. in a box here as he goes to the outside, tries to get ahead of the 1. He'll do just that. And we'll see if we can get the 1 to filter down here behind him and block him out there. They're going to try and shuffle that 88 car out of the way here. And this is impressive working here on his own. The 88 car will have to do everything he possibly can in terms of his bag of racing tricks here to deal with DHI, because they're all over him. The 89 of Matt Quick, they're also involved here. He could be a late factor in this race should something happen, but right now it's not looking good for Jorgensen Jr. as he's getting pushed though from the DHI cars, so I'm not entirely sure why they're helping him, but they want to get there themselves, I think.
I think that they just see him as an opportunity to help themselves. I think that the 88 has to be aware that the 4 cars behind him probably are not going to push him to the win. Contact, and Jorgensen's in the wall. The 7 pushed up off of on the inside, and Jorgensen got hip checked into the fence, and his night is done just like that.
Absolutely huge one there for him. Of course, he has a win already, so he's already locked in the chase, but that's disastrous for his points at this stage, Evan. As that'll see him drop right down the field to at least 20th, I'm guessing, after that moment. And there'll be some controversy after the race, I think, so we'll talk to people about that one. But this leaves things set to be a fairly secure DHI 1, 2, 3, 4 if they can get past Mac Quick.
It was a tough break for the 88. Luckily, this has not resulted in caution. We stay green, and now the 7 not finding much love from his counterparts. Henry to the outside. The 1 giving him the push. Does the 12 drop to the bottom, or does he stay on that outside lane? And again, absolutely, they're going to fight against each other, Rachel, but they can't get too caught up in fighting each other to allow somebody else to sneak into this. Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4 for those team cars in the best spot, really, that those Dark Horse cars could imagine being in.
Oh, certainly is. This is ideal team situation. They can decide who they want to get points first, of course. I believe one or two of them already have wins this season, but yeah, they can choose to actually let the guy who hasn't got a win yet get some points and get himself locked in. So this is an ideal dream team situation for these boys. 20 car dropping back a little bit there, the 20 of Derek Walker. But look at this, 2 wide, possibly 3 wide if they're going to try for this one, but one more lap to go after this one. And oh, look, here comes the field. This could make things interesting.
3 drivers on the outside. It is still the DHI drivers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Taking a look at the drivers who have won so far this season. Jorgensen, Chiburko, and Osborne. So this team still looking to plant the driver in victory lane, at least in this group of 4 that's up at the front of the field right now. And they're going to go to the apron. Big slide. This is not going to end well. Wofford going to hang on somehow on the apron. And I think we're still in one piece.
That was teammate contact there, of course, Evan, between Walker and his teammate Chris Bassini, and Bassini also out there.
He wasn't clear when he came down, and both those drivers went for a big slide, and when you do that on the inside of the corner, it normally does not end well, but a great piece of driver to stay alive as they come off of quarter number 4. Final time for the 20 at Eric Walker. His teammate get a challenge on the outside. Here comes Corey Henry, going to be side by side, the 20 out of shape, last second move,
oh no,
and a photo finish. It is Derek Walker by 3 1/1000ths of a second, and those 4 team cars ended up wrecking all of them, but somehow in the end, Derek Walker hangs on, and Rachel, we said you can't worry too much about fighting each other and take yourself out. Well, they did wreck each other, all 4 of them. Going to end up on the flatbed, but they get a 1-2 finish somehow when it's all said and done.
They certainly did, Evan, but the funny part of that was that the 20 car of Derek Walker had started to wreck before he crossed the start-finish line. He had actually gotten that tap, which sent him sideways and eventually into his teammate Corey Henry. That tap had happened just before the start-finish line, so he was in the process of wrecking as he won the race. Here's a replay for you on the screen. Fantastic end to this one. Superspeedway Cup, you are never short of the action here. Wrecking across the line to win the race. That is NASCAR at its finest.
And it was all the 20, and I thought when that 20 got out of shape that it was going to be the 12 to come in and steal this one, but Derek Walker, for everything it was worth, held on to it, and those top 6 junked it after the race, and you expect nonetheless when you come to a plate track to see these guys wrecking for the win. And it'll be a tough break for those 2 other teammates that don't make it across the start-finish line. The 7 and the 1 got together when they took the white flag, but still a good night compared to what some of the other teams can say. You get a 1-2 finish with that. How about Derek Walker? By the way, talking about guys who have, not necessarily had the best of nights, and, a couple of guys that have had to kind of get through some stuff tonight and fight back, and there's been a couple of guys that we've noted who got into accidents and were able to kind of pick things back up and get back on the right track. It wasn't all that long ago in this race that Derek Walker was not very good. He was in an accident in the opening 15-20 laps of this race. He comes back to win it, proving to you that there's really nothing that can put these guys down. He drives back, and with that miraculous finish, is able to get the job done. It's always fun to see those side-by-side finishes like that.
Certainly is, especially with teammates making it so exciting at this stage, Evan. And that's exactly what we come here for. This is what we come to this series for. The racing is absolutely fantastic. These guys do this every week. This isn't a one-off situation here. This happens week in, week out. These are how these boys finish the race. And we've had a fantastic story today. DHI, team of the race. We mention them a lot because they're one of the prominent teams at the very sharp end of this race in this series. But they showed an absolute textbook example of teamwork tonight, getting those 4 cars together. Although I think 2 of them, possibly Rodney Wofford and Chris Bassini, might be having a chat in the team hauler after this race because they could have been involved in that win too. In fact, they might have actually had it. So hopefully we'll get to actually chat to them all.
It will no doubt be an interesting post-race conversation for the drivers of Dark Horse Inc. But nonetheless, we'll be talking with 2 of them, including your race winner. How about Derek Walker punches himself into the championship with a win here tonight from Talladega? We'll go trackside, talk with your top finishers when we come back for the LSRTV post-race throw on the other side. You're watching our continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series on LSRTV and iRacing Live. We'll head trackside in a moment.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
Welcome back live to the Talladega Superspeedway for the LSRTV post-race show, following tonight's coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series on LSRTV and iRacing Live. 4 races down now in this season of 14 championship, and through the first 4 races, 4 different winners getting themselves locked into the chase for the championship, which we don't really have to talk too much about until maybe 4 months down the line when it gets kicked off. But Mark Jorgensen Jr., Brandon Chiburko, Data Osborne, and now Derek Walker via a 3/1000th of a second difference at the start-finish on it. As you take a look at that photo finish cam on your screen right now to get the win here tonight from Talladega. We will talk with him in just a moment. First, we'll take a look at tonight's full race results. Derek Walker, your race winner. Corey Henry and Jason Altmans come home inside of the top 3, and we'll chat with them in just a moment. Paul Servant, Rod Flag, great results for those 2 who come home in 4th and 5th tonight. 6th place for Brandon Cruz, Montsevice. Daniel Holloway, going to be the biggest mover, goes 31st to 7th, just behind Tim P8 for Scott Saunders. Frank Basilia, pole sitter, comes home in 9th, and running at our top 10 is Andrew Berger.
Certainly is, Evan, of course. And coming home today in 11th place is Scott Warren, with Andy Kessler in 12th place, Gary Champion in 13th, Rodney Wofford, Larry Camp, your top 15. Mark Jorgensen Jr. ends up falling back and finishing 16th after his late race incident, with Ray Rittenhouse second, Roger Stewart, your last finisher on the lead lap, in 18th, Chris Bassini and Matt Quick, your top 20.
Rest of these guys, at least a couple of them actually, still kind of in this thing. 2 laps down, 21st for Glenn Hendrick and Dan Harrington, 22nd, 6 laps down. Basically everybody else out of this race when it came down to it. 23rd, Dana Osborne. 24th for Dominic Dieball, Shada Bakichin, Josh Vickery through 25th position. You've got Dwayne Cooper, Brandon Chuberko, Kelly Dahl, Garrett Atwell through 30th, and Josh Hanner and Joel Wood 31st and 32nd. It's a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. We'll go trackside tonight with your race winner, Derek Walker, who started in the number 4 spot, but had quite the night behind the wheel of that number 20 machine. And how about slideways across the start-finish line to get the job done? Derek, congratulations to you guys on getting the win. It was an exciting finish, and I know that with 3 laps to go, it was you and 3 other teammates. You didn't hope that it was going to be that close with you guys having all 4 cars junked when it was all said and done. But how big of an advantage was that kind of allowed you guys to really go at each other while still kind of controlling the pace of the race up front in those closing laps?
Woo! Evan, I'm still trying to catch my breath, buddy. That was a crazy finish. I don't even know what all happened. I just know that at one point in time, the DHI guys were all up front with the white flag flying. And I saw some of them spinning in the mirror. I don't know what happened. I was just looking forward, tunnel vision, and I knew I had my other teammate up there, Corey, still. But yeah, there was some dead silence that came across our TeamSpeak radio there on that last lap. And it was interesting. I can't wait to watch the replay.
I'll tell you what, it was a thrilling finish by 3/1000ths of a second, and not only were you side by side with your teammate, but you wrecked. And we talked about how at Talladega, the finishes can be different because of where that start-finish line was. I think you're thankful that it wasn't 5 more feet down the road because you came slotted across it there at the end. For you guys, though, starting up front and finishing up front, I know that entailed a lot in between. How was the night overall?
Yeah, we ended up towards the back with that first wreck, or no, the second caution. We got a little damage and had to go in and get it fixed. It put us way back. So it was just a little bit of strategy working with the team. I know Piscini and Chuberko and we were able to make a run lane 3 all the way from the back to the front, and then a caution came out, so it played out in our favor. But yeah, I mean, it was an emotional roller coaster tonight, but it worked out in the end for me, and Corey got second, I believe, and then a big shout out to Jason Oltmans for that pushing me there at the end. He committed and he never lifted. It was great.
The big thing that obviously it is in this series all the time is a win gets you locked into the championship. So going forward, I know that you guys want to add on some wins. Does this win allow you to kind of help out your teammates? Because quite honestly, you guys have been the best team all season to this point. And it's despite the fact that, you guys, especially when we looked at, and you had those 4 of you up there with 3 to go, neither of you had a win. You guys have really been the only team to this point that we've seen be able to take control of races like that. So do you think that that's going to benefit you guys in the future? Because it's very hard to do things methodically at a plate track, but do you feel like now that you're in, you can kind of focus some attention, or will the objective be, for you to kind of focus some of the attention on helping your teammates get in?
Well, I mean, the ultimate goal is always to win, but yeah, when you have the win, it's a little easier to help your teammates out, and you don't feel as bad or sad, I would say, by giving up a spot to help them out too. But yeah, I remember there was like 2 to go when we were all 4 up front, and I said, all right, guys, it's DHI up front. One of us take this home. I really didn't think it was going to be me at all, and it wouldn't have if Rodney and Chris hadn't got together. So I'm feeling real bad for them. I can't wait to talk to them though and see what's going on. But yeah, it was. It takes a team out there, especially with that draft tonight. It was really hard. We had a little tape on the front end, so these cars weren't overheating. So it was really hard to get that suck up and get a real good run on the high side. But we had a solid team and we worked together well, and it worked out.
You take a look at the stat sheet, it will show career win number 1 for the driver of the 20. Derek, congratulations. I know that you guys have been digging at this for a while. Who makes it happen for you?
Thank you, Evan. First of all, a big shout out to Rod for putting on this awesome league. I look forward to it every week. Shout out to you guys at LSRTV. You do an amazing job. And then to my whole team, DHI, Chris, Rodney, Greg, Corey for that awesome finish. Josh O'Hanner, he had some bad luck, and then our boss, Miss Bassini. Shout out to my sister. She's watching. Shay. Hi, Shay. We finally got one. She watches every race. So a big shout out to her. My friend Lauren that's watching. And I think my dad was watching. If not, I'm going to make him watch it tomorrow. So just a shout out to everybody involved. And a big shout out to Jason Oatmans for pushing me there at the end.
See, the good news for you is a lot of guys win their first race and it's under caution at the end and it's kind of boring. So you'll be able to come back and watch this one and it will be quite the excited finish to look back on. Derek, thanks for sticking around and chatting with us again. Congratulations on getting this thing done and hopefully the first of many. We'll see you next week and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Evan. Appreciate it.
The race winner tonight from Talladega. Corey Henry comes home second tonight. Jason Oatmans comes home in third. Trackside with both of them is Rachel Whiteford first with the driver who comes home P2, Corey Henry.
I certainly am, Evan. Thank you very much. Corey Henry with me here. Come home today in second place. Corey, one to go. You had 4 teammates together. You finished with your teammate. You got second place in the end, obviously. How does this feel for the team? And how are the team dealing right now with what happened in turn 1?
To be honest, the team speak went pretty silent, except for me and Derek coming off of turn 2. We'll get things worked out on that end, but fortunately for me and Derek, we were able to maintain our momentum. Everybody kind of got through that except Rodney and Chris. We had one hell of a finish coming to the start-finish line. I can't say how happy I am for Derek. He's been trying so many times to get this victory, and something's happened. He's had bad luck. He's had accidents coming to pit road, just getting caught up in someone else's mess or reset glitches and things like that. So I'm tickled to see him finally bring home a W for DHI, and on our side, we're pretty happy to go in there and get another second place finish 2 weeks in a row. So that should look good in the points. And we've got one driver locked in the chase now with Derek. So I'm sure Chris and Rodney they'll settle their differences and everybody will come back next week and we'll hopefully put another guy in the chase.
Of course, that's what matters for you, of course, now. I believe you have 2 cars in the chase to this stage. Your team, of course, running the long game here, and how does it feel to run a 4-car team in this series, and how important is it with these Superspeedway races?
It's very important, especially with the chaos that happens towards the middle of the race. At any given point, you could be working with 3 or 4 guys, and then all of a sudden you're looking at just 2 of you. So kind of have each other set up as backups. We actually have 5 when Greg Hooks will show up. So hopefully he can get off on Friday nights and come help us out a little bit and be that extra car for when something goes wrong.
Well, absolutely fantastic for you, of course. And who do you want to thank for this?
I want to give a shout out to everybody at DHI. Derek on his first win. Chris, Josh, Rodney, Greg, and I got to give a shout out to my parents once again. They're actually in town tonight and watching in my living room. They're staying with me, so say hey to them and everybody at LSRTV. You all put on one heck of a show every Friday night, and we appreciate you all putting on the show that you do. And got to thank Rod for the league, and that's it.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Corey Henry. Fantastic one for you there, coming home second in the end. And I'm also stood by here with Jason Oatmans.
Get
Jason,
out of here, Corey.
51. Yeah, Corey will leave us and run off to join his teammates. Jason, third place tonight. Not what you wanted. It's not a win, but after the wreck you were involved in, heck of a recovery.
I'll take it. I honestly kind of figured that was going to be it. Tough field tonight, tough setup. Pretty difficult to pass. The thing that I got into with Frank there, I don't know exactly what was going on. I feel like the nose of my car with this set maybe just doesn't sit right against other. I don't know. It was really weird because it seemed like if I was getting into not the perfect spot in somebody's bumper, it was sending them or getting them a little squirrely or whatever. So I hate that I got in that with Frank. I thought we were both going straight pretty well and just kind of got messed up. Got back a lap down and had to really fight to stay towards the front of being a lap down. Got the wave around, and that last restart, I think we had like 9 to go. and ended up getting put in a position where I ended up somehow passing from P19 to P18, P19 up to third. I'm pretty happy with that, actually.
Well, fantastic results in the end there and great championship points. How long before do you think you can get yourself into that victory lane and pick yourself a spot in the chase?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming here. I mean, I feel like I've been pretty consistent as far as being up front, as long as I don't get wrecked out. I mean, I think I have a pretty good string of, top fives when I'm not getting wrecked out. So it's just going to be a matter of time. I'm really happy for Derek getting his first win. That's really cool.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to that on third place. Anybody like to give a shout out to?
I didn't thank you the last time I got interviewed, Rachel, so I thank you first and foremost, because I know you got really mad at me, and I know there was some...
I didn't. It's fine.
There was a lot of debates going on, and everyone hated me for it. But anyway, other than that, I appreciate my wife allowing me to have a steering wheel on my desk, Jason Altman's Designs, awesome company, Trading Paints, LSRTV, and Mr. Rod Flegg himself.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Jason Altman's came home today in third place.
Are you interviewing Mark?
I think we are about to.
I'm staying here for that. I got to stay here.
Oh, yeah, okay. We'll let you stay here for this.
No, you got to finish top 3 to get interviewed.
Yes, but of course, we do want to have a quick chat too. We just managed to grab Mark Jorgensen Jr., who's going past. Mark, not the race you wanted today. Can you tell us what happened with yourself and the 7 of Rodney Wofford?
Just very, very, very hard racing. I mean, what was it, under 5 laps to go or whatever? Everybody that was in that front group, had a shot at winning. And I think I was 3rd car on the bottom, digging like all heck, trying to get what I could get, hoping to try to get a win. And I had the outside lane cleared, so I jumped up high and had Chris Passini pushing me in the 1 car. And I was getting a pretty good shove, but I think the racer mentality took over. I was going to pinch, do whatever I had to do to try to keep myself going forward to try to get the lead. And I think I probably got a little bit too much there. Obviously it's a racing incident. There ain't no bad blood or anything like that. It does suck because, I think I could have easily finished, top 3, top 5, whatever. But, at least I still finished. At least I didn't, finish on the hook.
Well, that's certainly a thing. You come home today in 16th place, not what you'd have wanted, but you are, of course, already locked in. These races from now forwards, just a matter of points for locating yourself in the chase, but also keeping your eye in.
Oh yeah. Every Friday night when we come to the racetrack, I mean, we're gonna race really, 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 really hard, aggressive, block, huge blocks, block some more, do whatever I got to do to continue winning. I mean, in the way I look at it, if I just keep on winning as many races as I possibly can before the chase, the points will take care of themselves, but, right now, I won the first race due to technicality issues, and, the next 3 I've finished, way back in the grid, and I don't like that. I think I'm one of the better drivers in the league. I hope to expect to finish in the top 10, top 5, get some wins, this, that, and the other, but, kind of got some bad luck going right now for these last 3 races, but hopefully whenever the chase starts, hopefully I can start knocking off some wins and keep on advancing through the chase and hopefully be able to hold that big trophy up at the end of the season.
Oh, awesome. We'll let you go, of course, but anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, Rod Flag for putting this on for us. Enjoy coming over here Friday night and racing real hard with a bunch of my online buddies. LSRTV for the broadcast, the broadcasters up in the booth. I mean, y'all are amazing. I mean, I can't wait to go back and watch it and hear y'all get excited for some of the moves. I know whenever I was in the booth, whenever Evan was playing monster trucks,
he'll be able to roast me next Friday night. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I don't even compare at all to y'all.
Evan runs off and leaves you guys a lot. He'd rather play with monster trucks than be with you guys, but I'm always here for you. Okay.
And I appreciate that. And other than that, I just want to give a huge shout out to Derek Walker. I mean, that's his first win. I mean, that's awesome. Got another first time winner in the series. So that's pretty cool. I know it's a long time coming. I mean, he's gotten a lot better as a plate track driver in our league, and absolute amazing guy. As far as driving goes. I mean, holds the line. He's fast. He knows what to do. I mean, y'all saw at this race. I mean, he won the race. I mean, he beat all the extremely good guys. I mean, I think he's really good, and I think he'll probably start clicking off a lot more wins. But just want to give him a huge shout out for his first career win here.
Well, absolutely fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Mark, up here in the booth. And we'll head back to you, Evan.
That is a chat with a driver who came home in 16th tonight, but I think that if those final 5 laps kind of went down a different way, I think we could have very easily been handed out Mark Jorgensen Jr. an 11th career win. But again, it's just the way that these plate track races go. You can put yourself in position, but I think at the end of the day, Rachel, if the cards are not in your favor and the stars aren't aligned, it's kind of hard to overcome that. Sometimes bad luck beats out over, positioning and such.
Yeah, this is absolutely that, Evan. And let's not forget, as we mentioned earlier on, Super Speedway racing can sometimes be a lottery. Something goes wrong, a slight touch, a wiggle, and a sideswipe, anything can suddenly change the entire dynamic of the race. And just being in the wrong lane at the right time, the wrong position, too far back in one line, and it's over. Right place? By the skin of your teeth, you'll miss it. So it is one of those things. It's why we love this kind of racing. It is so in the hands of the racing gods.
And I think that because of that, it is no surprise that Superspeedway Cup Series action on Friday nights is one of, if not the most popular series that we have week in and week out. And there's still plenty of racing to go on the Season 14 Championship, and we hope to see you for the rest of that. But until next time, that wraps things up here tonight from the Talladega Superspeedway. We're not done yet on iRacing Live this week. You can catch us tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern for the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series, and you can find a full Outlook broadcast schedule on our website at www.livesimracing.com. You can also stay up to date with us on social media by following us on Twitter at LSRTV and giving us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/LSRTV official. Until next time, on behalf of the entire team at LSRTV LLC, for the folks behind the scenes, and for the broadcast team tonight, for Rachel Whiteford, for our executive producer Cisco Scarmouze, and for myself, Evan Pizzoco, but thank you so much for tuning in. Congratulations to Mr. Derek Walker, a first-time winner in the Superspeedway Cup Series. He adds his name to the list of 3 other drivers. 4 races in, 4 different drivers on the championship grid. The season is going to be exciting all the way up until the start of May, where that championship begins, and you are not going to want to miss a single week. So we bid you good night from Talladega. We will see you next Friday night from Daytona.